Run it, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem been better. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed in heaven, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're in hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out of books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities that never come unless you paying attention, so no, I can't miss that. Moving, MVP, I got the record, I might have to prove something. Big jumper worthy, they gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming, had to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket. Yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits. Yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no ends. Yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen. Putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my big dog, walking big talk, young veteran, living legend, bet I'm better than them. This is my ship, I'm a jacket like Letterman. Y'all better not let them in, they gon' rotate this, so I keep the pedaling. Started a chain, the cycle is heaven sent. This is from God, but I'm not your reverend, not in the pulpit. I'm a pit bull in this element, yeah. Say you gon' pull up, then settle it, yeah. I've been married to this hustle, this is my ring, watch out step in it, yeah. And I ain't even got a yard, but I'ma get it here. Watch out touchdown, pulling plans out the clutch. Everybody getting crushed, the cut down is for us now. Have to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket. Yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits. Yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no ends. Yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen. Putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, I can't take no loss. Yeah, I don't even know what it costs. Yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, hit the ground, then it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my. Yeah.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On the road, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Actually, we're here live at 5:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because Bitcoin is absolutely exploding to the upside, guys, topping out at about $117,547. Guys, oh my God, I started to feel crazy. Guys, but we did that reverse psychology on the crypto gods the other day, 2 days ago. We were saying we didn't want the altcoins to pump. We did not want Bitcoin to make a new all-time high. And here we are. The reverse psychology worked, guys. Bitcoin exploding into a new all-time high. What does this mean? Are we finally entering the final stage of the bull market as we've been looking at here, guys? It does look likely. Now, obviously, this does not mean that we can't pull back. It also means that we might, we also could not pull back, guys. We have a lot to break down on the charts here as we have ripped up into our next target to the upside, which was sitting at our Fibonacci extension levels between about $115,000 and $118,000. Are we on our way to 120? How high can we go? We're going to break it down all on tonight's live stream. So shout out to the CandleMafia and anybody out there in profit right now. Unbelievable move on Bitcoin. I mean, it was exciting before, and I sat down at the studio desk and I was like, Oh, okay, she's just going. So shout out to everybody in here. Let's see. Market always wins. Shout out to Space. That is absolutely true. I should say most of the time it will win if you do not take profit along the way. We got Darius in the chat. Brock in the chat. What is going on? We got PP Panda. Shout out to PP Panda in the chat. Resistance at 118K. Yes, absolutely. We do have a fib level up there. We almost tapped it physically. We just kind of front ran that level, but we're going to go over the resistance here. And shout out to PPP Panda. I'm going to call you PP Panda, bro, because that is a hilarious name. But shout out to PPP Panda. Welcome in, bro. We got RK in the chat. Curtis, Reese. Let's see. We got Peter in the chat. Crimson, what is going on? Good to see you in here. We got Rollins 420. Regular guy trade said, yo, strap in your seatbelts. Nirvana, blue collar trader. What is going on? Oh boy, what an exciting day, guys. But we're going to break down the charts. Don't forget to smash that like button and show our mods some love in the chat. The chat is moving pretty quickly here. We got Darren Does Things in the chat, Rob the Crypto Snob, Tyler Durden. You guys know who the mods are. Crypto Billy, Chemistry Bro, Crypto Anon. Show them some love in the chat. And we got a lot. Love the green. Shout out to Johnny December. Yeah, we're going to show the long trade up almost 200%. On a little altcoin long. Let's go. Shout out to Joe Mama. He got to show Joe Mama those profits. Let's see. The moment is coming. Shout out to Mr. Q. And this is super, super validating from what I've been talking about recently here, guys. Not thinking the bear market is here. I know that price action looked very similar to 2021, but when you've been through a few cycles, you just kind of have that feeling. But with all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts and look at these beautiful, beautiful green candles. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go. All right, so here we are, guys. Bitcoin, and with an absolute explosion to the upside. I'm going to break down what we saw happen here, where we are likely going next. I will just bring up really quickly in case we do continue to push to the upside. 117,798 is going to be that actual technical Fibonacci extension target. Doesn't mean we have to come up and tap it, guys. This is going to be a zone. We looked at this zone on the past few live streams. We looked at it last night. But look at this move, guys. This is for sure a breakout. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't retrace. Obviously, we have to look, even if we do continue up, there could be some kind of a retracement to come back down. We're going to take a look at the altcoins. Guys, we have Ethereum approaching our key macro target here. This is all just so perfect. We see Ethereum getting the break of this high here. As you guys know, we were looking at some very key levels on Ethereum, where we have our next major macro target sitting up between about 3,000 and 3,150, and that is just the next local targets that we have. And there is that level that we looked at yesterday, looking to push into that golden pocket. And then if we get above there, we can look up towards that PLC. We will break this all down in just a minute in more detail, but I just wanted to show that we obviously have these levels on the chart. You're inside your volume profile. You flip that value area low to support, and in general, you're going to look for that continuation up through the profile. XRP coming up through its profile. We got a lot to look at today, so buckle up, guys, and it's going to be a fun one because we're actually pumping to the upside. Shout Shout out to Ian. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He says, you're the best. Your TA is fired. Thank you as always. Shout out to Ian. Thank you so much for the super chat, bro. And I never come up here and say, look, we were right. You have to keep your ego out of the trading. The reason I like to show you guys what we were looking at previously is only to show you that the TA actually works. And if you tune in every single day, you take notes, you pay attention, you can actually learn how to do this yourself. Absolutely unbelievable. But let's break this down real quick for you guys. So obviously we did have our major volume profile here at about excuse me, sitting right down here. Let's take a sip of that black coffee real quick. In the CandleMafia mug, or the Bing Bong mug. Let's go. But obviously, we did have this volume profile here, guys, and you know we had some very, very big macro levels on the chart here. We had this macro trend line, and this is just to show you guys why I have kept my bullish bias, saying I will not waver with the TA, guys. You have to listen to the TA. It will be right more often than not, but we had this trend line. Depending on where you draw this from, the level does move a little bit, but overall, we had this macro trend line. We had the 786 Fibonacci retracement. This was really that technical line in the sand to get above in order to eventually see that bigger breakout into new all-time highs. And this is the exact level that we covered. And the reason I bring this up, guys, is because those 786 Fibonacci retracements, although you can look for lower highs and lower lows if you get the rejection, but it also gives you that beautiful line in the sand, and you can see it playing out here flawlessly, absolutely flawlessly. Once you get above that level, you can actually see, right? You get above that level. If we go down to a lower time frame, you could probably see the physical tap of support before getting that next big leg to the upside that we had technically yesterday. We kind of wiggled around here. We did not want to lose very specific levels that we were looking at to the downside. We actually didn't get the SFP on the daily, which would have been a bearish sign. We were looking for a potential, the bearish kind of signal to look for yesterday was actually this high right here. Getting a daily candle closure below this wick would have been a bit more bearish in my opinion, and would have called for another bigger continuation down, but we did not get that SFP. We hopped on top of that 786, and when we say when you break that 786, it's a line in the sand, guys, we absolutely mean it. So absolutely beautiful to see that play out. And then obviously we were looking at these Fibonacci extension levels to the upside. I simply pulled this Fibonacci extension from the all-time high to the current low, giving us this zone here between about 115,329 and 117,798. Which was that next big level to the upside. And you guys can see we almost hit that 118K level. And we might see a little bit of turbulence here, right? Now, it doesn't mean we can't melt through it, but we do have to be aware this is resistance, right? So, are we ready to just rip up to some potential final targets for this bull market? I will say, right, I would love to see this just continue to expand to the upside, but we do have to be aware of pullbacks. This does not mean I'm bearish, obviously. Even as we said yesterday, any pullbacks, we were going to be looking for higher lows and higher highs, as I just have a generally more bullish bias long term. But we do have resistance here, so just to kind of front run anybody who might think if I say it's going down, I'm bearish. That is not the case. I'm just looking for smaller pullbacks. I could cover a bearish case as well, but any pullbacks are going to be looked at as lackluster for higher lows and higher highs, and there were many things on the chart to call for this, guys. We were looking at that 2-day money flow crossover, which was indicating the potential breakout all the way down here in June, right? June 8th, we had that money flow crossover into the green on the 2-day with our monthly green dot printing on our Heikinashi candles. This was that simple thing that we look at, which every other time that we've seen it happen, let me see if I can pull up the chart here. I think I have it from the market update. Excuse me. We looked at this, right? Every 2-day money flow crossover in this bull market has given us that next leg to the upside, and this should look familiar because I've covered this on every single live stream. This is going to seem very repetitive, but we've been looking at that saying, hey, 2-day money flow crossover, you get a little bit of fear in the market, everyone gets scared, you get back above the bull market support band, 2-day money flow crosses into the green with a monthly green dot, next leg up, consolidation, oh my God, bear market, you're below the bull market support band, oh my God, the bear market's here, flip it back to support, green money flow crossover into the green on the 2-day, monthly green dot was also printing here as well, next leg to the upside, and that brought us to this current situation and why my bias has been to the upside. You have the 2-day money flow crossover, and we did confirm that monthly green dot here in July. And we were talking about, hey, is this going to be, right? I kind of just say it like this. 2-day money flow crossover, next leg up, consolidation, 2-day money flow crossover, next leg up, consolidation, right? Get back above the bull market support band, 2-day money flow crossover, next leg to the upside. And here we are, guys, getting that breakout. So just to kind of show you guys what we've been looking at, not even short term, but long term as well. We covered this last night on the live stream or over the past couple days. I am still holding my long position from the low here, not the low, but from this low here at was a point of control, was the level of support. I actually entered in on a retracement, and I am still holding that position over here on Belowfin. I'm gonna have to move that target back. Gonna move that target a little higher, up about $5,400. When I hold my longs, guys, if my stop loss is at break even, I should probably move this into profit just for some some fun. But $5,400 in profit, and there's a reason why we hold these long positions, right? When you have that longer term bias, you are going to be looking for that continuation up, and you want to be able to capitalize on that. And here we are, right? So I want to talk about some levels to the downside, some next targets to the upside, and then I'm going to go over the longer-term scenario on how high this thing can actually go. And I'm thinking about maybe doing a pre-recorded video, kind of like a Bitcoin deep dive, as I've done previously. Last one I did was all the way when we were consolidating up here, looking for the correction down to $80,000 to $75,000 before putting in a higher low and a higher high. And that was kind of the last time I needed to do a Bitcoin deep dive, and I think it's about time to do another one because we've now gotten the higher low and a clear higher high. So I'm going to do a Bitcoin deep dive, talk about probably maybe shoot that video tomorrow, try to update it as soon, upload it as soon as possible. But I'll cover some of the more bullish macro targets. But let's just assume, guys, we are going to get some resistance here, and let's say we do start a little bit more of a pullback. This is obviously a very clear breakout, and, if we do get a dump, right, it could be pretty aggressive. We obviously will very likely have a lot of people FOMOing into longs here, could be putting a lot of liquidity down below, but one thing I will just be looking at structure-wise is it would be okay, right, to get a little bit of a pullback, but we really, sometimes price does want to come back and retest structure, right? So if we did get a pullback, just to look at this visually, right, you would kind of want to see a breakout, and obviously the structure and how we get down there is going to be a little bit more involved. But if we do come back down there and touch this structure, I'll talk about what I'm actually looking at, the actual physical, technical levels that I'll be watching. But something like this could be possible. So if we do get a bigger pullback from here, just understand, a pullback back down to these highs would not be like the worst thing in the world, right? We've seen this happen many and many times. If I pull up some of the larger ranges that we've been looking at in the past, you guys can see here, we break out, we retest the high, we come back up to higher prices. And if we actually look at this, I believe it is... Yeah, like even here, we slipped it, but you really just don't want to break back down into those previous ranges, right? And we obviously do have the new range, which is sitting right here, right? So you just really don't want to break down back below this value area high. It would be okay to kind of play around with these candles a little bit, and it's kind of the same levels of support that we were looking at last night when we were pulling back here. If we did come down there, right, this would have been a very nice place if you were not in a long to catch a long position, because we did have a golden pocket 786 retracement right in that zone, actually this local fib. But we never even got that pullback, right? We didn't even have to come back down and test that. But just understand, if you do get a bigger pullback, we could come back down and test this structure, right? I would prefer to hold. We have some upper levels we can look at as well, but just in general, from like just looking at the chart from a zoomed out perspective, right? Even taking all the levels off the chart, right? It would be very, it's kind of like the same thing that we saw with the drop down to $80,000, right? Or I'm sorry, $75,000. You have this previous range right here, right? So as long as you're able to hold on top of that structure, you could be looking for continued breakouts, right? And it's going to be the same thing, just on a little bit of a smaller scale, right? So there you go. That's just kind of like the simple outlook. If you're not into like all the super technical levels, if it gets really confusing, I know some people get overwhelmed by that kind of stuff. That is kind of what I'm going to be looking at, right? It's very hard to call the exact technical moves, although we do oftentimes do that. But that is just generally the structure that I'll be looking for, right? Once we start breaking back into that volume profile, right, at that point, simply based off the value area highs, right, we have a lot of room to come down here. If we did get stuck under that value area high, it's like, well, hey, maybe we're going to go back down for a bigger pullback, right? But until then, right, this does look like a pretty healthy breakout, in my opinion, guys. So if we get the pullback, I'll bring up those actual like technical local levels, but if we do continue to the upside, just understand $120,629 is going to be the next Fibonacci extension. This level, this zone of support, is something that we have been looking at for so long. And I know it sounds crazy, guys. I know it sounds crazy, but hopefully watching these live streams and seeing me like have conviction in the TA and understand that, I'm sticking with my bias. I never tell you guys I'm 100% right all the time. I've been wrong before. I will be wrong again. But, I'm just on the side of the charts, right? And the charts are wrong, right, way more than they're wrong. So we've been looking at that level, and I know it seems crazy, but here we are, right? Just take that in. Understand that, like, you have to be aware of the levels that you're not near in case you get these big moves to the upside, because when Bitcoin moves, it likes to move. So if we break above this, 126.29 is that next technical Fibonacci extension level. I don't know, right? Like, I don't know how likely it is that we're just going to like Lambo candle all the way up to some crazy target right now. But, this is technically a gigantic zone of resistance, right? So you have 115, 118, and then 120.6K, right? So, we might be able to play around up in here. These technical targets using the Fibonacci extension levels are very similar, or not very similar. They're literally the exact same thing that we had looked at. Where is my cycle chart at? I mean, I guess it's just gone forever. But I'll pull up the cycle chart in a minute. These are the same targets that we looked at when we looked to come up here between about $91 and $102,000 to get some consolidation, get some resistance before the big pullback. When we've been looking at that target ever since we were down here at like 25, 30K, right? It takes a long time to get there, but oftentimes these do get tapped. And this is just basically the same exact situation. So, should we cover some higher targets? I mean, maybe we can. They're already on the chart here. I will say, guys, if we get some really crazy expansion here, again, turbulence here is very likely in my opinion, but if we can get above that Fibonacci extension level, maybe it happens tomorrow, maybe it happens 2 weeks from now, who knows, right? But that next zone, right, just to get you guys, it might seem crazy, right? It might seem like, why are you even looking all the way up there? But 134.5 all the way down to about $130,000. This would be... I would say 120K is going to be the first like big level, right? $120,000 psychological level. It tends to be pretty strong resistance, right? And support as well if you're coming to the downside. But we do have another target up here, but these would be, I would say, medium term. If I pull the macro Fibonacci extension, which has been pulled, right? My bull market targets have essentially been pulled from these extension levels. Let me pull up the weekly time frame, just to show you guys exactly what we're looking at here, right? So you have the low here. You're pulled from the all-time high of 2021. We're going to go ahead and pull up those prediction levels, and I will just hide these local levels to clean the chart up a bit. Whoops, going to have to keep that one on. Obviously, our first zone of resistance, target number 1 for this bull market was between, actually, I did not have this level on the chart. It was really between 91,000 and 102.4. And what happens, right? You eventually get gravitated towards that level. We get a little resistance, bull market correction, and we just held on top of this fib level. And if we can look up to this next target here, this would be higher time frame, longer term target. $137,000 to $156,000. Crazy. If you've been here, these targets will be familiar with you, or familiar to you. But just like we came up here and got some resistance, we could potentially see the same thing here, except I would be a little bit more concerned. I don't want to say concerned, but I would be more suspicious of a continuation up, depending on what price action looks like when we get up there, right? You have to understand, we've been talking about this. I've been mentioning, right, the final stages of the bull market. We covered it yesterday. We covered it the past couple of weeks. Why I'm long-term bullish. Just from a timing perspective, we have the rate cuts potentially coming down the line. Alt season hasn't happened. And if we were going to get this breakout, if the TA is going to be correct and we are going to go even higher than we are right now, it is very likely that this is going to be the final stages of the bull market, which I know sounds sad, but this is pretty much, right? Like, this is the most exciting part. And obviously, Bitcoin has been riding up for quite some time. But the nice thing about this is at that grand finale, that last parabolic move in the bull market, guys, this is where we finally see the alt start to run, right? And it is a very short window of time. So assuming we are actually going to continue up and we are continuing into this environment and everything continues to line up how it has recently, right? This is the time. This is the time, guys. And when we look at the altcoins, right, like the altcoins obviously could lag a little bit still, and we'll cover all the altcoins as well. We'll look at things like XRP. We'll take a look at, I'll take some requests from chat as well. But the I don't want anyone to get stuck in the it's never going down scenario. I'm not going to talk about the bearish case today, but just understand, like, this is not the start of the bull market. It is the start of the last phase, which is oftentimes the most exciting part, right? So it's kind of like, super exciting. Alt's probably going to start pumping soon, I would say. But, you do have to be on your toes, right? Especially if you're in Bitcoin, you have to be on your toes because eventually when you get that final parabolic move, whether and it could take time, right? We might get a big move up. We might consolidate for a little pullback. If we want to go for one more last extension, you could, but this is probably going to happen pretty fast, in my opinion, right? And if we're going by the rate cuts, let's say we get rate cuts in September or maybe July, whatever it is, if that does end up happening, guys, like even from a 4-year cycle standpoint, we are coming up, like we're right on time, right? I've been saying this for so long. We are right on time. And so in my opinion, right, this is the time to start paying attention to the alt charts. We've already been keeping up with them. We have those 2-day money flow crossovers looking to come into the green, which is oftentimes a very good sign for altcoins. I'm not trying to create FOMO. I'm never trying to create FOMO or fear, just raw information. So just understand, 137K is going to be the first major area, if we can get up there, that I would start to really try to mute my FOMO bullish feelings, right? I will 100% feel these just like everybody else does. When you're trading, when you're investing, it's going to be almost impossible to get the emotions out of your mind. You're always going to feel them, but the thing is to not act on them, right? So when we get up here, I'm going to be in defense mode. I'm going to be in defense mode if we can make it up here. It's like, hey, we've gotten a massive rise up. This could be the last blow off top for Bitcoin, which again could end in the alt season explosion, which is hopefully, if things go like they have in the past based off the 4-year cycle, which we have been very, very closely tracking so far. It's time to start being very careful, right? Obviously, a lot of the altcoins haven't gotten gigantic moves just yet, but once these start moving as well, it's not a long time that you see the actual full-blown alt season happen. It's a very quick, a very short-term thing, right? So you gotta get in, jump in, grab your bag, and jump out, and you're gonna have to be fighting against the most bullish sentiment you've ever heard in your life. Everybody's gonna say it's going up forever, and hopefully that is the case. Maybe this time is different, but every other cycle is my third crypto cycle. This time is different. People come around every single season or every single cycle, and they are always wrong. The bears and the bulls, right? This time's different. Bitcoin's going to zero. Those people are always wrong. This time's different. Bitcoin's never going back down. Those people are always wrong. We are here to make money, not just pray that it keeps going up, right? But very exciting times. Those are the next major targets I'll be looking at to the upside. And to bring up some of the technical levels in case we do get a bit more of a correction to the downside, I will cover those with you guys right now because I think this is the most important thing because, tomorrow, let's say if we did get a big correction or something tomorrow, it's going to feel scary, right? It's going to feel scary, but you have to understand the overall environment, where we are in the cycle, the market structure, all that good stuff. So I'm going to pull up some MPOCs here. See if we have any. We'll have to see what happens with the current MPOC. We do have a daily MPOC sitting right here at about. Let me just mark this out real quick. Daily MPOC sitting at about 109.112. This is going to be a very key level to watch. This also gets very close to retesting this structure, obviously. So this would be a big level to watch, and then. This MPOC that we have right now is not confirmed yet. Once this daily candle closes, this MPOC will be confirmed. I will mark it out as a temporary MPOC. Technically, it could move, but if we do close somewhere around here, this will likely stay the same at about 111.72, right? This would be, sure, you're kind of playing around with the previous all-time high, but these are definitely big levels to watch, right? Weekly MPOCs, let me actually pull these up on the chart real quick. Yeah, our next weekly MPOC is all the way down here, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But just honorable mentions here. 2 daily MPOCs, one at 111.72. Again, not totally confirmed just yet, but that's where it sits right now. And then you have this one down here at 109.112. Now, hyper locally, right? It's kind of hard to do any form of TA on these massive green candles, right? We don't have any structure to analyze. We don't have any higher lows, higher highs. Mrs. Candles in the house. Mrs. Candles was right, guys. When we were doing the reverse psychology to the crypto gods, look at this. Hey, shout out to Mrs. Candles. We actually asked Mrs. Candles what she thought. She said price was going up, and we were a little bit worried because she was wrong the time before that. But Mrs. Candles, you did it. You did it. You did it, Mrs. Candles. No, I know. You're never wrong. I know you're never wrong. I mean, look, you're obviously never wrong. You said it was going up. Let me sniff that hand real quick. This is the most well-deserved hand sniff I've ever had. Come on. What?
No, I deserve a hand sniff.
Okay. Sniff. Let me sniff it. Let me sniff it. Okay. Anyway, guys, let's continue on. Shout out to Mrs. Candles. If we look here, right, this is very hard to kind of analyze on these big moves to the upside. So if we pull back up this resistance real quick, bada boom, where's it at? There we go. Let me pull up that purple box one more time, right? So, maybe we chop around in this area. I'll be honest, guys, kind of hard to, we can look at some super, super local market structure here. You have a little bit of consolidation here. If you're a pattern person, I guess this is probably the most clear-cut bull pennant you could possibly look for. But, at the end of the day, could I pull a fixed range volume profile on this? Yes. Do I think it's going to be extremely helpful as a macro level? Probably not, right? And I would have to take that big green candle out of there, right? So you have a little consolidation here, but other than that, it's kind of hard, right? This is just kind of the time where, the long positions down here in the premium Discord, it was literally the last moment. The last time we were looking for the longs here in the premium, we're down here on this point of control. As you guys know, I did enter that position. Let me actually pull up the current volume profile. Whoops. Where's that? Bada boom. That's current short. Where's my current volume profile? There it is, right? We were looking to test, not this POC, this POC, for a long position, right? And I did enter that trade. We showed it on the live stream. I got taken out of that position by accident. I explained how that happened yesterday, but I did re-enter on a little bit of a pullback here. That's the long position I'm holding right now. Literally, they tried to take me out of the position, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. We caught in on that higher low, and then we got that rip to the upside. But, this is really going to be that volume profile to look at. At the end of the day, you could see there's a little little bit of confluence here. I'll try to pull some Fibonacci retracements as well. Let's see if I pull this from the low to the high. And look at this. We actually do have a little bit of confluence here. This is kind of like live TA, guys. I mean, it's always live TA, but I have not really looked at this until we went live, right? Because we just started pumping right as we were going live. But daily MPOC golden pocket, like, you know, I don't know if you'll pull down there, but this is definitely some kind of confluence. If that daily MPOC confirms there, this will be a, excuse me, a big level to watch. You have the value area high 786 and daily MPOC here. I would say this is the most important level to hold, right? If you lose that daily MPOC and you can't break back out of the range, this is going to get you much closer to getting accepted back into the profile. And this would be looked at as a little bit more bearish for me, right? But hopefully, we don't have to deal with that much of a correction. And this is kind of the like the most current I can do the TA on any kind of like a significant time frame, right? I can come on down to the 1 minute, right? And I could be like, okay, cool, like we can analyze this, but this is like very short term. But major levels to watch right now, guys. If you get a bigger correction, we are in resistance, right? Very exciting, big explosion at the upside. This is amazing, but you know we are pushing into resistance. So you know, are we going to reject the front run of the fib level here? Are we going to come back down, reject here? Are we going to shoot back up to the here? Very, very hard to say at this moment. We're going to take a look at market cipher B in just a second, but at this moment, right, these will be like the big levels to look at. 111, basically 111, I'll just get the exact levels for you. 111, 285, 110, 874. Level number 1, golden pocket, right? Value area high, 786, daily MPOC. You could even potentially look at this as one large zone, right? Sitting between 109 or 111.3 all the way down to about 109.1, right? Massive level you want to hold, because if we're going to come back down and test that structure, you really don't want to break back down into this range. It's almost the exact same scenario that we were in when we came back again on that big $85,000 retracement. Same sentiment, right? Where I was saying like, hey, we have this volume profile down here. We have these structural highs. If we come down and test those, which we literally like almost did, like perfectly, right? We just barely front ran them. But, you know, it would have been okay to break those highs, tap the value area high. But once you get stuck back inside this volume profile, you have to look at that in terms of your rotation of value. It's like, well, hey, if you get stuck under here, under the value area high POC, much more probable that you're going to get that full rotation to the low. It's the same exact thesis here with this local profile, right? So, and if you come down here and you tap that high and get that is a good place to get a bounce, right? Especially when it's confluent with a 786 Fibonacci retracement, right? Well, let me pull that real quick. Come on. Oh, my God. 3 times in a row I just got trolled. From the low to the high, right? We have the 786 and then the structural highs. That is a little bit of a zone, right? So it's the exact same thing there, just to be clear, right? Simple confluence. So if we get that, right, oh my God, right, you could get the retracement, and then you really get the big move up. And whether that big move up is to 137K, 150K, we'll analyze price as we come up. But that is going to be the big zone of support to watch. I'm actually going to pull this off the chart real quick. I'll just get rid of these really quickly. I'll grab these daily MPOCs, drop them in my MPOC folder. Come back into chat real quick. Shout out to Brillo. Shout out to Brillo. If you've ever tried to clean a pot, guys, Brillo is your best friend. Shout out to you, man. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, loving the streams and learning a lot. Sui, please. Shout out to Brillo. I will try to take a look at Sui. I believe we looked at Sui last night, but we will take another look at it today. Let me just go ahead and write that down. Super chat, just a heads up, guys. Super chats do not guarantee that we will see your altcoin. I wish that was the case. Otherwise, you know, we would need like 50 hours in a day to do that. But I will try my best. We'll try to take a look at Sui. I'm going to run through some other altcoins, and then we'll take some requests just from the free chat. So there you go, right? Those are the biggest levels I'll be watching if you get the big retracement, right? Now, if we want to go a little bit more local here, let me take a look here. Actually, I'll keep that on the chart. We'll come on down to a lower time frame, right? If we're going to be looking at, like, really the only thing I can look at here is going to be, right, Fibonacci retracements, right? So if we do, I mean, I guess we can pull from this higher low to the high. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, this is just really, really difficult to analyze. It's just like crazy impulses to the upside. There's not much to look at here structure-wise, but you could look at this fib level, right? We break above it. You might be able to retest that as support before continuing up through the zone. But for the most part, I'm going to cover the major levels here. If we get the big pullback, those are the big levels I'll be looking at that I just brought up. Now, what are the chances of a big pullback, right? Let's pull up market cipher B, take a look at what we're looking at. Yeah, I mean, you could argue, right? I mean, 15-minute bearish divergence. This is not really. I mean, that's not something I'm looking to short. Could be right. 15-minute bull div. You might get a little correction down, but it is an extreme impulse. So, not really something that I would be super keen on. Taking a look at the daily. Yeah, I mean, if I was like looking for a reason for this to come down, I mean, maybe you got the daily bullish bearish divergence, and I'm talking about like a bigger drop down. But again, it's like, this is a very strong move up. Take a look at the 2-day, right? 2-day money flow still very healthily in the green. You could argue that if you do print the red dot, let's assume the top is in for now. You could argue that you might be able to print some kind of a 2-day bearish divergence. Bada boom. Right. But, again, at the end of the day, it's we're in a very strong move to the upside. And a lot of times, guys, when you go into a big move like this, sometimes they are very unstoppable. Right. So obviously my favor here is to the upside very clearly. Right. So, yeah, I mean, listen, if we pull back, that's the big zone. Right. If you were like scalping the lower time frames at this point. Right. Could you long here and make money? Sure, right? But, I always say this. There is no universe that exists that I am longing a giant green candle like this, right? My long position is from down here, right? Maybe I think I have, where is it? Bada boom, right? And this long, we were actually looking, right? So my long is pretty much from down here. My original entry was closer to this setup, but then again, I got stopped out. So my entry is like closer to up here. But, the long positions, right, are to be had in the consolidation or on the move to the downside. I am not chasing the long, in these giant green candles, right? Obviously, I am in the long, but it's not taken at a point like this, right? It's taken even on the retracement that I took it on. It was not on the green candles, right? It was on the retracement back down. So, on a strong move like this, I think it's really difficult to try to find a local level like that to get in on after you've already had a massive move up. So I would really be paying attention to the bigger levels, right? And I don't know. Let me pull this fib real quick one more time. Yeah, it's like I could look at this more local fib, but, it's not confluent with the daily MPOC. I could pull this. Right? This is not really confluent with anything else either, but when we pull it from the actual low here, you guys can see you actually do have confluence on these two zones. These are the levels where you have the high probability reactions, right? You have the golden pocket daily MPOC, you have 3 levels of confluence in here. These are the areas of interest, right? Not just a random golden pocket, not just a random 786, not just a random horizontal support level, but you want to find those confluent levels, and that's why I put a lot more weight on these. Doesn't guarantee we have to get down there, but if you did get down there, these are the big levels to watch. Plain and simple. Same thing down here at the point of control. We did not just have a point of control here. We also had a daily MPOC, and I believe we also had a weekly. We had 3 major points of controls in here, which made it a high probability area for a reaction, right? It's not just some random one single level. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to jump into chat really quickly. If you guys have any questions, please ask them. I'm happy to explain things more in detail, or if you have a general question or a specific question, I'll try to break it down for you guys. But I'll go a little bit more over the long-term time, the timing of like how this could potentially play out. But let's see here. Bada boom. Shout out to Hasty said, thank you, Frankie. No problem. Shout out to Hasty. D Petty Crypto in the chat. Show D Petty some love. What is going on, bro? Hope you're doing well. 119K today's high. Mark this. Shout out to Hype Soul. I mean, listen, bro. If we go up to 119K, it would sit right inside this fib zone. So I wouldn't say that's totally impossible. Shout out to Hype Soul. Let's go, baby. You got me a hype. You turned me into a Hype Soul, bro. Let's see. Yeah, shout out to Chris, Cryptopher Columbus, one of the best names out there, says the real question is where's the short? I'll be honest, right? Even as we came into the local targets that we looked at yesterday, right, on yesterday's live stream, we were obviously looking at these Fibonacci extension levels. Pull this up. I'll get rid of this golden pocket. I'll turn off the daily MPOCs just to clean things up, and I will pull up those per local extension levels, right? Yesterday, we were looking at these extension levels, right? And I actually did short the tippy top here, right? That wound up being a pretty decent a pretty decent scalp short, but obviously the shorts are looked at as scalps in such a bullish environment. So just I am still handling it like that, right? Like this was a short level. I let the Discord know, like literally, I do not run a signals channel, guys. I will say this until I turn blue in the face. I do not run a signals channel, but sometimes I just let the Mafia know what I'm doing here. And as we pushed into that zone, guys, 15-minute SFP confirmed, daily MPOC, explaining kind of why I took the position. But it was based off technical factors, but always looking at it as a scalp until proven otherwise. And I was even just a little bit scared. But as we look at that, right, that played out for a little bit, and then we just kind of consolidated and got that next rip to the upside, which is totally expected. And that's why people, a lot of people will be like, you're a psychopath, bro. Why are you shorting up here? It's because I'm not really expecting it to get a big move down, right? If you understand the context, there's plenty of money to be made on these little drops to the downside. So when it comes to the question, Christopher Columbus, is where's the short level? Any short I would be looking at right now would be a scalp until proven otherwise, right? If that short wound up playing out a little bit more, right? Let's say we did break down below that. We had our key level down here that we tapped, like we wicked into that level, like to the dollar. If we had lost that level, I would have just simply looked for a correction down to the value area high. And then if we got stuck under that value area high, that little scalp short position would have profits locked in, stop loss to break even. And then you could look for that to maybe turn into a bigger swing trade. And that's how I would treat all the short positions here. I'm not saying that, if you short up here, it's not going to dump down like crazy, but I would have to be viewing that from the context of the overall market right now. I would have to view it as a scalp until proven otherwise, right? Remember, 2-day money flow crossover, monthly green dot. We got the all-time high, right? So we have to keep that kind of overall longer-term sentiment. Shout out to Golden, baby. Let's go. Golden. It's happening. It's happening, Golden. Let's go. Thank you for getting those 50 Frankie Candles memberships. And you guys already dropped that golden waterfall in the chat. If you just got a membership, you got access to some custom emojis. Drop that golden emoji. Golden, if you don't know who he is, I don't know. I don't know who he is. He just gifts memberships like a maniac from his golden private jet that he flies around in. It is insane. Shout out to Golden. Thank you so much. I'm sure Golden is extremely happy right now. Shout out to Erica, said, Frankie Candles, it's about time. Let's go. Shout out to Erica. Finally, we're here, guys. We're here. Golden shower. Shout out to David. Let's see. Golden Goat, let's go. Shout out to Hype Soul. And Golden, I'm not even going to be able to see if Golden jumps in the chat here. It's moving too fast. But I will say any shorts, right, have to be treated as scalps until proven otherwise, right? I'm not saying, if I were to look for anything up here, right, it would have to be shorts. But the difficulty here is we just don't have any structure, right? So unless you're going to, if we had come up and tapped this Fibonacci level, maybe physically tapped it, right, I might have been a little interested in some kind of a scalp short, right? And just understand, guys, I'm a trader, right? So again, if I shorted up there, I would not be expecting things to go to zero, right? I'm just looking to make money on the ebbs and flows while I hold this long position from lower. Now, it's also hard too, right? Because we can't look for SFPs because we have no price action to the left because we've never been at these prices. So it just makes it a little difficult, right? So, in these big moves, right, like I said, you want to enter in on the consolidation or dump to the downside, and you just want to enjoy these rips to the upside, right? We just kind of have these celebratory streams, and then if we are able to, for me to find a short position up here, right, we put in the high, we're starting to create some local structure here. Maybe we bing bong around. This will give us some context to maybe look for a new short position. But as of right now, I'm not holding any shorts. I'm only holding the long over here on Blowfin, up about 5,400. This is literally the same exact price that it was at before. But that's kind of how I handle things, right? If we come down, I'm happy to miss, without any kind of signal, right? Anytime I short a big move up like this, it has to be based off of some kind of signal. Even back here, right? Like I showed you in the Discord, right? It was based off of, the simple thing I was basing that off of was a 15-minute swing failure pattern, right? So still trading a technical move there. But up here, right, there is no SFP to be had, right? We're just kind of playing around in price discovery. So a very dangerous place to short. Doesn't mean you can't come down, but it's just a hard place to find a technical reason to enter the trade. Could you gamble on the big shots up, hoping that you catch the top? Sure, that's just not how I trade. It's a pretty dangerous way to trade, obviously. If you're stuck around here for any amount of time, I'm never someone that's just going to take a trade for no reason. Let's see. ADD Dad in the chat, dropping the moons. Let's go. Shout out to ADD Dad. Welcome in, bro. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope the family's doing well, bro. Let's see. ETH, we're going to jump into ETH in just a second. Let's see. Shout out to Sam, says, just read the news on TradingView, which says the final top will happen at 130K. It's disgusting. Shout out to Sam. I don't know if you mean disgustingly good or disgustingly bad. I guess that depends on your entry point into Bitcoin. But I mean, listen, we just covered that just a few minutes ago. Like my major targets, right? Like one of my big targets. Not meaning that I'm just going to hold until we get up there, right? But we also have some other lower levels. We have some upper levels as well. But yeah, I mean, the next medium-term target here would be between about $129,000 and $134,000, right? And resistance and support levels, guys, whether it's a Fibonacci level, an MPLC, whatever it is, right? I am always looking for confluence, and that's why I group these things together in a zone, right? It's like we don't know. Very likely you're not just going to, it's not impossible, right? But very likely you're not just going to do this and then dump, right? Sometimes you will come up and you'll play around with that resistance before finally creating a top and then getting the big move to the downside. So yeah, I wouldn't think that's unlikely, right? Listen, does that guarantee that the top is going to be in at about $130,000? No. Sure, it could go higher. Sure, it might not reach 130K. But that is right in the zone of where I am really starting to, like I said, put on that defense mode where it's like, okay, everyone's super bullish now. Everyone's going to look to buy the dip. And when everyone's looking to buy the dip, guys, that is usually the dip that you don't want to dip. That's the dip before it keeps dipping, right? It's when people are terrified. Those are the dips you want to buy, right? Down here, people were terrified. Buy the dip. People down here, super bearish, super scared. Buy the dip, right? And we have maintained our bullish sentiment throughout all of that. Not to brag that we were right, but just to show that the charts will always be the truth. About 80% of the time. But yeah, especially like macro stuff like this, high time frame analysis is typically pretty strong. So yeah, I would agree with that. I think between 130 and 137K could be a good place to look, right? But depending on how that blow off happens, right? Yeah, you could be looking at this technical level, and then it's like woo, and then you come down, right? So at that point it would be like, oh, we topped out at 142K. It's gonna be very hard to call the exact dollar top, but when you look back in hindsight, if you top out at 134K, that 130K call is gonna be pretty dang close. And don't feel bad, guys. Like if you think that like that's oh my god, that's not that big of a move, like that's not what I'm in crypto for. Remember, you still have the altcoins, right? And the altcoins have not gotten this massive multi-year run to the upside, right? Altcoins have not done this yet. Altcoins have not done this yet. But speaking of altcoins, guys, let's go ahead and jump into some of the altcoins here. Take a look at Bitcoin dominance real quick first, and then we'll jump into some of the alts. There's Ethereum tapping the target from yesterday. Let's take a look. Bitcoin dominance. Bada boom. So yeah, just kind of continuing that correction from yesterday, right? We looked at this yesterday with that drop to the downside. Could this be the top for dominance? I mean, listen, like we said, between the golden pocket and 786, which is obviously a gigantic zone, golden pocket down here, 786 up here. But we knew once we flipped that POC, we were very likely to creep up towards that 786. So just understand, you still have the 66.21% level. But this is nice. We're seeing the breakout. We're seeing the dominance drop. This is a technical factor to look at that is bullish for altcoins. And also, right, just to break this down, guys, it's not just crypto, right? It is the fact that things that we've been covering for the past couple of weeks or week or so, I should say, SPY making new all-time highs. We had NQ making new all-time highs, right? We had I think, NVIDIA making new all-time highs. I think it was NVIDIA. We had Coinbase. This was like the biggest thing that we looked at. And this is why we were watching this major trend line, guys, because when you pull up Coinbase, the Coinbase stock, right, coin, we were just like in this little like kind of bull flag, right? We were just kind of getting like this. We were doing this, right? And I'll bring it up in a second. And then eventually it broke out, flipped the trend line to support, and got the breakout. Not that I would trade the bull flag, but just the structure is very, very, very telling. And this is where we bring up coin. Here it is in the recent symbols, right? And this is where we, let me just go ahead and pin this to a different scale real quick. These are some of the things that we use. I don't just like to, make these calls or show you the TA. I like to teach you guys how we do it. So you could also do it maybe on a coin that I don't look at. Maybe you trade stocks. All these strategies will work for any asset, right? So, we had Coinbase doing the same thing, right? Coinbase broke out right before Bitcoin. That was potentially a leading factor. You had that same exact bull flag formation with the downtrend, and eventually you break out, retest, boom, you get the big move up. And this is where we were saying, like, is Bitcoin just lagging slightly behind? And here we are, trend line, breakout, boom. Charts are magic, guys. Charts are magic. They say it's astrology for crypto bros, but I will fight that. till the death of me. But there you go, right? Just some things that we were looking at, but and then also looking at Bitcoin dominance, right? Approaching its key level of resistance. So we still need this to come down a lot, right? Like this is pulling back. This is nice to see. And we do have a major signal here potentially looking to print, which would be the daily money flow crossing over into the red. I think the next big thing to look at on dominance is going to be watching this daily money flow crossing over into the red. If we can get that, previously, this has helped us get the massive drops down that we need for an alt season to begin, right? You break down below the POC, your money flow starts coming over into the red. You still bing bong around a little bit, but eventually that money flow crossover into the red on the daily. Money flow indicates the overall trend. This lets you know, well, hey, we were above the high, got to the POC, lost the POC, and as that money flow crosses into the red, this is where you're looking for the continuation of the downtrend, meaning you're looking for lower highs and lower lows, right? And then this is just kind of like a straight death drop to the downside, which is very good for altcoins, right? So that's what we're hoping for. Key support on Bitcoin dominance would be sitting at the point of control. So just be aware of that. It's sitting at 64.24%. Break down below it, that's where we could potentially start our journey down to the value area low. This would be generally good for altcoins, but we still need to get below that value area low. And this would all be good, right? I'm not just saying you're going to get a massive bounce there, but if you break down below the POC, this is the next big level to lose on dominance. With the money flow coming out, that would indicate that the trend is, even if you get a bounce at the POC, if that money flow is coming out, right, you're going to be looking for lower highs, lower lows. Get stuck under the POC, look to continue toward the value area low. And once we start losing this, guys, that is where you could start to see that massive drop on dominance that you would hope for to trigger that real massive alt season that everybody talks about. I swear, guys, it is not mythical. Well, it is mythical, but it is real. It is a real myth. Well, I guess myths aren't real. I don't know. But yeah, let's see. Yo, shout out to Gravy, baby. Thank you for the super chat. Said, where is everybody trading shorts these days? USA, shout out to Gravy, baby. I don't know if you're talking about like where to trade or where people are looking for the shorts. I just broke down where we're looking for the shorts. But yeah, I trade mostly on Femex and Blowfin. Let's see. Watch Korea when the market opens tonight. Yes, obviously when Asia opens, we'll probably get some more volatility. Let's see. Yo, shout out to Zach. Let's go. Thank you for the super chat. Said, I took a gamble at the top. Let's see. You still the GOAT probably for the next 100 years. Hope you live a long life so we can make some profit. Shout out to Zach. I appreciate you so much, bro. And it sounds like you're learning some stuff here on the Frankie Candles live stream, which is the absolute best thing I could possibly hear. So shout out to Zach. Let's go. I appreciate the super chats, man. But let me just make sure I didn't miss any other super chats here before we move on to Ethereum. Let's see. I think we're good. Shout out to AG. Thank you for the super chat. Said Doge. I will try to take a look at Doge as well. Thank you for the super chat. We'll take a look at Doge. I'm going to run through a lot of the altcoins, guys. I'm going to do some like speed analysis on a large number of altcoins. And I think I'm going to start dropping some altcoin updates, right? Whether they're going to dump, whether they're going to pump. I'm just going to give you the raw information, right? When we look at dominance dropping, when we see Bitcoin breaking out, I never want this to be taken as like we're never going back down ever again, alt season's guaranteed or anything like that, but we just pieced together the puzzle. We just put together the puzzle pieces, right? We came up to our key level of resistance that we looked at forever, guys. We've been looking at that 786 ever since we got into this value area low. This is where a lot of people thought in February that alt season would start. All I saw was the reclaim of support, opening up much more room for Bitcoin dominance, right? So again, it's just going to be information and data-based analysis. Never just FOMO, buy now, alt season starting, alt season starts on this date. Unless I had a reason to say that, right? If I had like a fib time reason to look at that, maybe I would say that, but it would never just be based off of like, this is what happened last time, it has to happen this time. History rhymes, but it doesn't always repeat. So let's jump into Ethereum really quickly. Obviously pushing into that golden pocket retracement. Spilling Aztec and Cactus Moss Water all over the place. I'm too excited, guys. I'm too excited. Let me just pull up the live chat. Yo, Golden with another 50 Frankie Candles memberships. Did he just drop that? Yo, shout out to Golden, bro. Thank you so much. While we take a look at Ethereum, guys, drop some more golden emojis in the chat. Golden, I'm sure you're beside yourself right now. Let's go. Golden even said the other day, he said, come on, baby. It's time. Let's get it. Bada boom, bada bing. Yo, shout out to Multi-Sig Dummy. Good to see you, bro. Welcome in. He says, Frankie, much love, brother. Happy all-time high. Much love, Candle Mafia. Tony, I still got Pokemon cards for you, slut. Let's go. Shout out to the Pokemon collectors out there. But obviously, guys, we flipped this value area low, which we know is going to very likely give us a potential continuation through the volume profile. So next target to the upside remains the same, right? Value area high, POC 786. Obviously, this golden pocket is going to be resistance. Could get a little turbulence up here, but at the end of the day, once you flip that golden pocket, you can look for that move up to the value area high, right? And POC for the fulfill of that volume profile. And once you get above the golden pocket, you're anticipating the 786, which is, of course, confluent with that level. Come on, volume profiles. Don't fail us now. Don't fail us now. If we get turbulence, just hope that we can get that fulfilled range. That is what I would be expecting, especially if this bullish momentum continues, right? Now, this is the local range that we looked at, but we also have the much larger volume profile. There's those golden emojis. Let's go. But we also have this much larger profile that we've been looking at ever since we were down here, right? Saying, well, hey, if we can get a continuation up, we have our doorway to higher prices at $2,100. Once we break above there, this is where you're looking to get to the POC. If you could hold above the POC, which we obviously slipped below slightly, but if you pull up a higher time frame, like a weekly, it was, well, I guess you didn't really close above it on the weekly. But as long as you stay within the volume profile, guys, right, it is going to be looking for the fulfill of that volume profile. Where was our next target to the upside on the macro, right? Well, it's going to be the golden pocket 786 retracement pulled from the not the all-time high, but the most recent macro high to the low. Golden pocket daily MPOC, which we've just tapped. Isn't that magical? Isn't that magical? Right? We've talked about this level for so long, and I feel crazy sometimes, right? But it's just like, sometimes you just have a lot of time you need a lot of time for price action to develop. And we knew once we were able to crack this high to put in the higher high on price, right? And again, why were we looking for that? Well, you even have locally bullish market structure here with your low, your high, your higher low, higher high. And then, as long as we were able to stay inside of a local profile right here, right? You're just saying, well, hey, this would support the higher low, higher high scenario. And if you're looking for a higher high, you're going to be looking to crack that structure to the upside. Does that bring us into the major target? It does. Not only the local target, but also the macro target that we've watched for so long, between 3,000 and 3150. Golden pocket the top of the golden pocket sits at about 3157. And then the daily MPOC starts here at about, 2975, right? Basically 3K, which is pretty much where we topped out at. What is the top of this candle? $3,000. And I think that says 70 cents. So there you go, guys. The magic of TA. I know some people think we have a crystal ball, but it is simply the crystal ball is the information that I give and the education, right? It's not just information that you have to come to me for, right? I teach you how to do this yourself. So absolutely beautiful, right? Ethereum just right on track, just like Bitcoin. And we even looked at this. Again, I don't trade patterns, but we were also looking at this as some kind of a little head and shoulders, right? Not that I would trade it, right? But what I like to use these patterns for are technical targets, right? Pull from the neckline to the wick low, and then you bring this to your breakout zone, and where does that bring you up to? Right into that target, right? So it's the confluence, right? It's not just the macro value area. It's also the local value area. It's also the money flow, right? We also, from a market cipher B perspective, we had the 2-day money flow crossover into the green. Make this a little bigger, right? You could see the money flow crossover into the green here on the 2-day is simply put a very bullish sign for altcoins. Ethereum, although like the mother of all altcoins, is an altcoin, right? I even have compared this previously in the macro profiles. You can see right here, right? You get above the value area low, your money flow crosses into the green, and what happens? You get the fulfill the volume profile. These are goated, meaning the volume profiles. 2-day money flow crossover, not that you can't get turbulence, but this is typically where you get the continuation of the trend to the upside. Money flow indicates the overall trend. When money flow is in the green, the idea is that any pullbacks that you get are going to be higher lows and higher highs. So you can pull back, right? But the overall trend is likely to continue to the upside. So long-term target for Ethereum, now that we finally hit our first macro target after, I think this was like a month of consolidation, right? Like 36 days of consolidation before a quick pullback. We also did hold an anchored VWAP here. Very, very, very important level of support to look at, right? We closed those candles right on top of that anchored VWAP. This is critical to hold your higher low, right? If you're going to continue the overall uptrend on a higher time frame, right, that is where you want to hold that higher low at. And if you want to learn how to use these, I do have a tutorial video to show you how to not only find sniper entries into short-term trades, but also to look for massive trend changes on high time frames. Go check that video out. The anchored VWAP is one of the best tools. Anchored VWAPs, volume profiles, market cipher B, and Fibonacci are like the bread and butter of my analysis. And then for entering, I do like to use order flow as well, but I don't really I talk about that more in the premium Discord. But I mean, beautiful, guys. Let's just celebrate the fact that we are finally at this target. Unbelievable. And again, we continue up. We do still have some 2 daily MPOCs up here. I'd have to double check to see what tick size these were pulled on. But again, you could get those rejections, right? You might get little pullbacks, right? But eventually, once you break above that golden pocket, where are you going to be looking? Right to the 786. Where does that sit? Right on the value area high, which also lines up with not only the money flow crossover into the green, but also the full rotation of this macro volume profile. And then once we get up there, everything's over. It's going to zero. I'm just kidding. Hopefully, we can get the breakout and push into new all-time highs. But it can be a bumpy ride, right? Again, I never want to create FOMO like it's just going to go up here tomorrow, right? It's possible. Is it possible? Yes. But, pullbacks are likely, right? And if you watch this show, you will know, right? Sometimes it takes a long time for price action to bing bong around, and that's why your macro structure and your macro higher time frame money flow is so important, right? You don't want to lose sight of the overall trend. That's why these dumps down don't really scare us, right? We would only be looking lower if we lost that value area low. Why? Because you're not within your fair value anymore, right? If you stay within the full area of balance, the idea is to fill that range, in full. That's what I'm looking at. This value area high sits at about 35.30. Just like we talked about 3,000 to 3,150, can we potentially see a $3,500 Ethereum very soon? I do think so, but just be careful of pullbacks. Some key levels of support I would be looking at on Ethereum, and look at that. Perfect flip. We have the daily MPOC, flip it to support, bigger push up. Absolutely beautiful. And just to show you guys that when you break the golden pocket, you typically go to the 786. This is the same thing. Price action is fractal, meaning that the way it plays out on a 1 minute time frame, all this structure will play out the same. It's just the timing, right? If you look at a daily structure, it's going to take a lot more time for that to develop, but it all moves in the same way. So when we look at this, right, you look at the lower time frame analysis here on Ethereum, right? What are we looking for here? What I should say is what were we looking for back here? Well, it's like, hey, if we can get above this golden pocket, we're going to look to go to the 786. And then that 786/daily MPOC is the doorway to get the breakout to 3,000 to 3,150. This is exactly what we covered on the live stream, I believe yesterday, if not the day before, right? And why do we look at it like that? Well, simply put, yeah, I'll just keep this, right? So you have let me pull the golden pocket back up, right? You have your golden pocket. It's like, well, hey, that's resistance. But if you can get above that, you look to go to the 786. And then that 786 is the invalidation of the lower high. Is there a possibility of a lower high here before breaking down? Yes. But if you flip that 786, and in this case, the daily MPOC, because they're confluent, that's your ticket to push into your next target because it invalidates the lower high. It's a specific reason, right? It's not just because we flipped resistance, right? It's because this resistance is a big area to put in a lower high and a lower low. Once you break it, you look for a continuation of the uptrend continuation of the uptrend, the larger uptrend into your next macro target. There we are. Absolutely beautiful. So let's move into some other altcoins. I'm going to check in on chat real quick. Bada boom. So if we were to have ETH pull back to 2760, is that a good spot to buy? Shout out to JP. Let me just hide some of this. What do you say, 2760? Where'd that go? 2760. All right, so let's take a look. 2760. I mean, here's the thing, right? I mean, this is tapped. Typically, when an MPOC is tapped, I pay a little less attention to it unless I'm looking for it to flip to support. We have already perfectly tapped this. It's crazy. Break above it. You've already flipped it to support on a lower time frame. But so this wouldn't really be the biggest level I would watch. I will keep it on there as a tapped MPOC because it is still a resistance level that was turned into support. So technically it could be support on the way down. But I will pull some fibs here. Let's pull from the impulse to the high. Yeah, I would have really liked this level if we had the golden pocket confluent. Could pull it from this next little low there. I'll be honest, I don't really love the... Yeah, I would really want to pull it from... I would really want to pull it probably from here. Let's see this. I would say it's an honorable mention level. I will mark it out. Let me change this to just our golden pocket, 786. So, yeah, I mean, let me hide this TA real quick. And let me pull this volume profile. Right, because all I'm doing here is marking out an area of balance before the breakout. So you guys can see you have your nice little range. You deviate back out. You flip it to support, POC, flip the POC, value area high, breakout. Let's pull to the current price real quick. Yeah, I mean, this would really be the big level in my opinion. Yeah, and you can see you do have the 786 confluence there. pull it to the absolute low. So I'll give you these levels on Ethereum, right? Golden pocket value area high. I'm not saying you have to come down here, but if you do, this would be a big level not to break. And you could even potentially drag that down to the 786. And why is this such a big level? Well, again, based off the volume profile, you would say to yourself, well, hey, if we did come back all the way down, which hopefully we don't have to do, right? You want to try to maintain these higher, you want to maintain the uptrend. Like, this would definitely be a level to watch. Again, I'm not saying you have to break down there, but the reason I would be looking at this as such a key level is because if you break back down below this POC and you don't get the bounce off the 786, you're now getting accepted back into this area of value. So you could get another rotation back down, meaning to the value area low at 24.44. So this would be a big level to hold, very similar to Bitcoin. It's kind of the same strategy that I'm looking at. And then again, is it impossible to bounce off of this? No, but it is just kind of hard to... It's just really hard to kind of, like, maybe I could pull it from this impulse. Yeah, I mean, I would keep an eye on it. It's a tapped MPOC. I'm not taking it off the chart, so you can take that for what it's worth. I will leave it there. It's just the fib pull that's a little bit hard to find the right low, right? Like, for me personally, I would really like to pull it from here. But in order to get that confluence, you'd really have to, like, start it right on the breakout, which is valid. But, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, 27.89 down to about 27.25. This will be an honorable mention level. We could also check the MPOCs real quick. We'll see where this MPOC is forming. Yeah, so, okay, so what I will do now, because we have a new MPOC here, I'll take off the tapped MPOC, and I'll just move it to the fresh one, because like I said, when those levels are tapped, I put a little less weight on them, but you now have a potentially fresh one about to confirm in about an hour and a half, right? So if this daily candle closes here, this MPOC will confirm, and so in that case, yes, this would be a good level to watch, in my opinion. Right? Weekly, our MPOC, yeah, our current weekly MPOC is sitting there as well, too. But obviously, this has 3 days to confirm, so that does have a chance to move. The daily will lock in here once this timer runs out. Hour and 23 minutes will confirm that next candle. We'll get that daily MPOC, and that'll be beautiful. So, yeah, I would say 27.77 would be a nice support. Breakdown below that, this is really the level you don't want to lose, in my opinion. Again, because you don't want to get stuck underneath that value area. Or value area high, I should say. So there you go. Let me go ahead and mark this out. Let me just throw this in a local folder. Boom. And I'll take the MPOCs off the chart real quick. And cool. All right, so that's what I'm going to be looking for on Ethereum. And again, 2-day money flow crossover, pretty good sign. Monthly green dot was also printing at the same time as that 2-day money flow crossover. So again, guys, like everything lining up. If you've been taking notes over these past live streams, this should all be beautiful and very, very expected, right? So there you go. Not saying I couldn't have been wrong, right? Obviously, anybody can be wrong. But, I'm always, if I was wrong, right, it was like, hey, I was wrong. But it was the TA was wrong, right? So I'm only going to be wrong if the TA is wrong. And if the TA is right more than is wrong, then I'm going to be right more than I'm wrong, right? Very simple. All right, let's see. Shout out to Saad, says your fib prediction levels for Ethereum for a new all-time high. I would simply, right, I would say between about, I would say, like, to give a broad range, right? Again, we'll have to assess these areas as we come to them. And luckily, I go live every single day, so we'll cover them as price action develops. But I would say between about 58 and 7,300 would be the first big level to watch. This would kind of be like the $91,000 to $102,000 target on Bitcoin before we got the big pullback. So if we do get some kind of a big breakout there, I would definitely be looking at these levels. And I'll probably drop a deeper dive on a pre-record video at some point soon. But yeah, I would just say for a simple answer on that, 58 to 7,300 will be the next big target to the upside if we crack the all-time high. Doesn't mean you can't go higher, right? I would say on the upper end of that, if we break above that fib level, right? What are we going to be looking up to? We're just going to be looking up to that next extension level, which really does sit between about 11.3 and 9,900 bucks. But all eyes on this level. I'm not just going to hold my ETH until we get to 11K. If it looks bearish at even 5,800, and I think the top is in, I will be reacting off of that analysis, right? So there you go. And just to show how that kind of plays out, right? If we did get a move all the way up there, I'm not saying it's going to happen in a straight line like this, right? Maybe we consolidate, right? And then once you break out again and flip this to support, well, really the only level to look above is right up here, right? Same exact thing on Bitcoin. And I could show you this because it actually already played out, right? Pull from the high to the low. You come up. And again, this level was not here. What level is this? Yeah. So this was the main target I was looking at, 91 to 102K. You get up there, bing bong around, you lose it, you reclaim. Once you hold that fib level, could be on our way up here. We've already hit the local fib targets, right? But if we continue up, right, breaking that level, the next place to look on a macro target is going to be up here between 137 and 156K. Same thing for Ethereum. So there you go. Plain and simple. All right, let's continue on. Shout out to J Violet. 1,000 likes would be amazing. Shout out to J Violet. Smash that like button, guys. If we get 1,000 likes on tonight's live stream, I will give away $200 in Solana on tomorrow's live stream, as well as 10 bags, smaller bags, of Cardano to 10 other CandleMafia members. But if we hit 1,000 likes, guys, we'll do $200 in Solana. And because we hit a new all-time high, if we get 1150, I'll add 3 Frankie Candles hats, which are proven, clinically proven, to increase your profitability. Let's go. All right, let's continue on. Shout out to Ken, says, get ready for the pullback at 119.96. Trust me, I wouldn't lie. Shout out to Ken. I would never think you would lie, brother. But I don't want to say but 119. Yeah, I mean, that would be right up in our next fib zone for sure. I would think that is, within our zone here. Again, if you're just tuning in, guys, if we continue up, next big targets to look at are going to be between about 117,798 and 120,629. Again, are we going to tap that exact level and come down? We might play around with it, right? But that is the next major zone to look at. Just like yesterday, this was the zone. Tomorrow, if we continue up, this will be the zone. If we break above that, we're simply going to be looking up towards 129 to 134K, right? The bigger levels that I looked at are higher time frame, right? The 137, 140, whatever level is a little bit longer term, right? So I'm just looking at like medium term levels, and then the other ones are like longer term levels. So there you go. Shout out to Nikki94 Boo. What is going on? Said late, but I'm here. What up, Mafia? Shout out to Nikki94 Boo. What is going on? Welcome in. Frankie, how do you find MPOC? Shout out to JC. Check out the beginner series. If you're new here, guys, my YouTube channel, specifically go to the beginner series. Tony, can you drop a link to a playlist? If you guys check out the beginner series, I bring you from not knowing what you're looking at and not knowing what TradingView is to understanding how to mark out levels, how I plan my day for trading, how I find MPOCs, how to use Fibonacci retracements, how to use volume profiles, and not only just how to use the tools, but how I actually trade them. Right? So check out those videos to find out. There's a very easy way to get MPOCs on the chart. For me, I just have this template up here. I click it, right? And then the MPOCs populate. And when I go to the daily time frame, these are my daily MPOCs. When I go to the weekly, these are my weekly MPOCs. When I go to the monthly, these are my monthly MPOCs, right? And I show you exactly how to set that up. So you could just click this, and then when you want it off, you could turn it off, right? And I show you exactly how to do that in that tutorial video. Let's see. Okay, so let's continue on here. When do you close your long at 107K, or what signs are you looking for SFP at a key level? Shout out to Seb. Personally, for me, for my long right now in this particular environment, I am trailing my stop loss up, right? So let me pull that back up real quick. So I kind of just did this as a joke because we're pretty far away from here, so I just kind of dragged it up. But typically what I do is, right, when I set my stop loss, originally I did take this with a very tight stop loss, right? And then once you push into profit, I usually move my stop loss to break even. And then once I'm able to get deeper into profit, right, I just trail my stop loss up. I probably will lock in some more profits as we once I get off the stream. But for the most part, right, what I like to do here, this is a little different because it's not a volume profile trade. It's just kind of like a trend trade. Typically what I do in my strategy, right, I have volume profiles, which have a value area high. They usually have a POC in the middle, and then a value area low at the bottom, right? And typically what I do there is my longs are taken below the range. Once we get back in, I look to go to the POC. That is a magnetic level on the chart. Once we flip that point of control, I look to push up towards the value area high. My first take profit on a long would be at the point of control. Once I take money off the table there, my stop loss goes to break even. Why? Because if price decides to surprisingly reject the POC and reverse, I will stop out at break even, but I've already taken money off the table, so I actually get stopped out in profit, making once I get to the POC, it makes it a guaranteed winning trade. And then if the more likely scenario happens where I flip the POC and go to the value area high, which happens, I would say, 8 out of 10 times, I'm just locking in profits, protecting myself, while also keeping the opportunity on to continue up to higher prices. And then once I get to the value area high, I'll take a second TP. And then if we want to continue to run after that, I hold a small portion of that trade to continue to run. This one's a little different because it's not a volume profile trade. I'm just going to let this runner move, and I'm going to keep trailing my stop loss up. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. Okay, so let's jump into some other altcoins real quick, guys. I'm going to go over XRP. I'm going to go over Dogecoin. I'm going to check out Solana. I'm going to check out Sui. And then we'll also go ahead and take a look at some other requests. Shout out to Seb said, thanks, Frankie. No problemo, brother. All right, let's go ahead and jump into XRP real quick. So taking a look at XRP, as you guys know, this is the wrong chart. Pull up our actual XRP chart that we look at every single day. And again, I know I sound like a broken record, guys, but please know that when I sound like a broken record, it is simply because I want to help you understand the high probability moves. But I'm going to say it again. Volume profile. Deviate the low into a golden pocket. This is your opportunity for the long. Why? Because inside the volume profile is the fair value for the asset. When you deviate below this, this is cheap. This won't play out every single time. At some point, you're going to break down out of a volume profile, and there's ways to identify that, and I do teach that constantly, right? But when you deviate below, this is a cheap asset. The highest probability here, right, is going to be, well, I don't want to delete everything here. Just get rid of the brushes. The highest probability here is going to be that we flip the value area low to support. If we stay above that level, we are going to look for the eventual continuation into our next target, which is the point of control, which we did come up and tap yesterday. And it's like, well, hey, you go from the low, next likely place for price to go based off the laws of the volume profile is the POC. This is the strongest magnet within the profile where the most volume was transacted. That's why it acts as a magnet. We flip the low, we continue the trend to the POC, and yesterday we talked about once we flip the point of control, the next level to look at technically was the 786, which we did see very, very, very slight turbulence on, right? Next target, once you get above the golden pocket in the POC, flip the golden pocket, 786 is next. Flip the POC, value area high is next. So we get above the golden pocket, you're watching the 786. Once you flip the 786, the next target for XRP is going to be the value area high of the range for the fulfill of that volume profile. And once again, right, we compare it to this fulfill, flip the low, play around a little bit. Eventually, you hit the POC, flip the POC, go to the high. Deviate above the high. Same thing as this being a cheap asset. This is an expensive asset. This is where you look for shorts. This is where you look for longs. Once you get accepted back into the range, the next likely place for price to go, POC, lose the POC, value area low. You've kind of, actually, did you front run this value area low? Yeah, technically you front ran it there. But even if you tapped it, right, sometimes you can play around here. And this is an example of this not playing out 100%, right? No tool is going to be 100%. You almost make it to the POC. You go for one more slip. You get the deviation, and then you get accepted back in. And I would expect that fulfill the range up to the value area high at about 260. Now, here's the thing with XRP, guys. This is nice, right? We've compared this. Hopefully, this is very validating to you guys. We've looked at the previous consolidations, many different previous consolidations on XRP, but specifically this one right here, right? XRP likes to get into these very, very long ranges, right? And this happened, when is this? 2017. When we look at this, right, I've compared this 100 times on the stream, where we just look at the similarities of this consolidation to what we're seeing right now. I'll even shrink it down a little bit, right? This is typically what you see, these long-term consolidations. I can't guarantee, I mean, it would be honestly kind of crazy if this thing breaks out like right now. It would be like literally the exact same amount of time, but these long-term consolidations typically do end in very aggressive rips to the upside. And I know it gets sketchy down here when we talk about that. It's like, oh my God, is this thing ever going to pump? But you can see patience is key in this market, right? Now I want to, keep it a level-headed, right? Value area high is next. I'm taking the 786 off the chart because I think everybody understands why we got that move up. So now we're just looking at the volume profile. And you don't always have to look at the intermediary levels, right? Just to be clear. You flip the value area low, you could eventually just look for the continuation up through the profile, but you're not going to know. Oftentimes you do get turbulence, right? You're not going to know where you're getting that, why you're getting that turbulence unless you're looking at those local levels. But even here, right, you get the rejection, whether you're looking at what you rejected or not, right, you're still trusting in the volume profile, looking to eventually get to the POC, and you do get that, right? Now, if we get to this value area high, could we just snap to the upside? This is possible, right? Maybe we come up to the value area high. Maybe we get a little resistance. Maybe we just get an instant breakout. That would be very nice. But I do want you guys to be aware of anytime you approach the value area high, it's an opportunity for resistance, right? So The question here is, are we just going to get the massive breakout, or are we going to get some turbulence up here above the value area high? Maybe we go for a retracement. But again, based off a lot of factors that we've been looking at, you have your daily money flow looking to cross over into the green. You have your 2-day money flow finally crossing over into the green, which is what? Very good for altcoins. The idea here, maybe that 2-day VWAP rolls over, right? I don't want to guarantee that you can just get an instant break to the highs here. But if you do get turbulence here, I will say, based off your 2-day money flow, based off your monthly green dot, which is about to print, right? That monthly green dot prints with that 2-day money flow crossover. It's a very long-term bullish sign. If we do get that 2-day red dot prints, assume we get a pullback, I will be looking for higher lows and higher highs because the money flow will indicate the continuation of the overall trend. The red dot would be an ebb or flow to the downside. The red and green dots on Market Cipher B indicate the ups and downs in the market. The ups, the downs, the ups, the downs, the ups, right? But the money flow typically indicates the longer-term trend, right? You can see here you have money flow in the green. Price comes down, lower high, lower low. Money flow is trending out, right? So when we look at this, any pullback has to be looked at as a higher low and a higher high for me. Simply put, where could that higher low come in at? Well, there's a few different levels that you can look at. It's going to depend on where that high comes in. As of right now, your full Fibonacci retracement sits at about $2.15. Could see something like this. Lose the POC, boom. Maybe you go back to revisit that 786 down towards the value area low. That would be kind of the most brutal situation in my opinion. You do have opportunities to get bounces from higher levels. I'll pull this higher low up to the high. Go ahead and take this, turn this into just a golden pocket. So I would say 215, and then I would also watch about 225, and then there's always the opportunity to just come down and get the bounce off the golden pocket. I'm going to have to let price action develop because I don't know where the high is going to come in here. To be quite honest, right? Like, I don't know if we're going to get the breakout. I don't know if we're going to put in a high. But even if we are, if I could even say that we're going to guaranteed reject here, I don't know where that high is going to come in, right? And it's going to affect where that fib pull is. So just understand value area high sitting at 260, 261 is the next key level of resistance. This is typically where you'll at least either see a full fill of the range or some kind of retracement, right? But again, higher lows and higher highs are going to be key. Check out the daily MPOCs here, see if we have a new MPOC. And again, if this thing pumps, things can change. Right now your MPOC is at about 250, so understand that. But, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's make it to the value area high first. But if you take anything away from this stream, guys, learn volume profiles, please. For the love of God, they are just absolutely beautiful. And I know I sound crazy. And people are like, this guy won't shut up about the volume profiles. There is an absolute reason for that. So there you go. All right, let's see. Shout out to R3DB says Frankie Candles is never wrong. Shout out to, or Candles are never wrong. I don't know if you're saying Candles is never wrong. Shout out to R3B, R3DB. I have been wrong before. I have to expose myself, guys. I've been wrong before. I'm just kidding. You guys know that. But we are definitely right. Way more than we're wrong. Let's see. Yo, shout out to Mike Bennett said, do you use volume profiles? What is a volume profile? But anyway, let's continue on here. We took a look at XRP. We took a look at Ethereum. Let's take a look at Solana real quick. And there is Solana getting the push up as well. We looked at this yesterday. Plan remains the same here, guys. Remember, we talked about the I'll pull up a little bit of a lower time frame here, right? We were talking about this kind of like double, quadruple head and shoulders, right? But again, this is really just looked at as a, how did I have this drawn? Drawn as a little bit of like some kind of a head and shoulders here. I don't remember exactly how I drew this. Let me see here. Yeah, I mean, there's really kind of like, I guess you could draw it like that. I think I was drawing it a little bit more macro here, right? It was a little bit more of like a, left shoulder head, right shoulder breakout. This gives you a little bit of a bigger technical target of, that value area low, right? Like, and whether I'm looking at that measured move or not, the next target here, if we continue to break out, is the doorway to higher prices at your value area low at $183. If this is going to continue up with everything else, right, this is the level to watch, 183.91. Once you flip 183.91, I am 100% looking up towards the point of control at 216.90. Golden pocket POC confluence. And at that point, once you reclaim value area low, that is going to be the strongest magnet and the highest probability next move for price action. That's what I'm looking at. Not much has changed here. to be quite honest, other than we have popped up a little bit, right? Nothing really too explosive, but yeah, we are just continuing that move to the upside. I'm not going to lie, it does look like a really pretty rounded bottom. Sometimes, you know, Bitcoin especially, but sometimes like altcoins too, really like to just roar into those big moves with those smooth rounded bottoms. Like I try to pull up the example on Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin very similar as well, but that's not the example that I was talking about. Yeah, like we were talking about it back here with this kind of rounded bottom, right? This typically does happen in Bitcoin bull markets, right? 2017, I believe, was like a perfect... man, I forget where that exact example was. There are a bunch of examples. I don't want to spend too much time looking for them, but when you see these kind of rounded bottoms, it's nothing really that special, right? It's just a rounded bottom. It's just like a bottom formation that people look for. But I will just say, you know, Solana definitely looking like that, right? And I mean, we've already gotten the pop to the upside. And sure, it would be somewhat of an inverted head and shoulders as well, right? Now, again, this doesn't tell you what price is going to do, but it is just a way to describe what a bottom formation will look like, right? So, yeah, I mean, my targets here would be exactly the same. I could pull up some of these other levels that we've been looking at, but for the most part, guys, I'm just going to say, you know, 183.91 is the big level to watch. Flip that. We're on our way to the POC at 218.92, hopefully, right? Not guaranteed, obviously, not financial advice, right? That's what I'm going to be looking for. Just because all the targets got hit, you know, the past few days does not mean that they're going to continue to hit. But, you know, again, we just have to stick with the probabilities. Pulling up the macro range as well, just to pull up some local levels here. Just understand, we've gone from the value area low, got above that POC, and at that point, you know, this is more locally what we've been covering. Is like, well, hey, if you could stay above this point of control, the next stop for price is going to be that value area high, sitting at about 116.04. That's what I'm looking at. And then, sure, you can get turbulence here, right? Maybe you get another pullback, right? Not impossible. But once you get out of here, at that point, right, we're looking up towards that bigger upper range. And you're not that far away from it. We've already tried to attempt to break it once. And when we look at the market structure here, guys, looking at this golden pocket, pulled from the absolute low to the swing high here, when you're looking for a higher low to come in, you have your low, your high. Where are you looking for the higher low? It's either going to come in at the golden pocket or the 786. And where did we get the bounce? Right at the golden pocket, which was in confluence with the value area high. And at that point, right, you have the open door to potentially look to continue that uptrend, breaking structure to the upside, which would break you into this, into your next targets, which you could eventually look for the value area high. But we'll cross that bridge as the price action develops. But again, there's many reasons to look for that, right? Market structure, the place where you bounced. You also had to fulfill the volume profile, which made sense, right? And you also have the technical target of that head and shoulders, right? Pretty much leading you right up to that value area high. So there you go. Doesn't have to happen right this second. Could be long. You could consolidate. You could pull back. But that's overall what I'm going to be looking at, right? We can't guarantee what the structure is going to look like. If we're sitting up here, I can't say we're going to go down, down, and then up, right? That's impossible to do. But we know if you stay above the POC, the next magnet is at the value area high. 2-day money flow is crossed over into the green, which again is just in line with everything else that we've been talking about on the altcoins for a while now, even before they crossed over, right? Some of them haven't crossed over, but for the most part, you see that money flow trending to the upside. You could start to front run those moves, right? That's how I call these moves before they happen. It's like I'm kind of, you could call it gambling, right? I'm just kind of gambling on the fact that, you know, we spent a lot of time in the red here. If we come back up towards that zero line, the crossover into the green is going to be pretty nice, right? For that continuation up. So 2-day money flow crossover into the green. Monthly green dot has not printed just yet, which could be a good sign, right? Starting to get the push up, and we haven't even gotten the monthly green dot yet. Not that bad. So there you go. That's what I'm looking at on Solana. Everything kind of just hitting where we were looking at. Now let's go ahead and jump on into Sui. I'm going to jump into chat real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see. Yo, shout out to Infinite Team TA. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the memberships, bro. I appreciate you. Let's go. I missed that by a long shot. You did that a while ago, but shout out to you, man. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for gifting those Frankie Candles memberships, and drop a thank you to Infinite Team in the chat if you got one of those memberships. Yeah, shout out to Eugene, said Bitcoin dominance at 64.1%, pulling back steadily. Yep, shout out to Eugene Sky. Absolutely. Shout out to CC, says don't shorten a bull run, boys. Shout out to CC. VeChain, yeah, let's go ahead and take a look. We haven't taken a look at VeChain in quite some time, so I'll give you an update on VeChain real quick. Let's check out Sui real quick. Common request here. That is if I can find the chart. There we are. All right, so I believe we looked at Sui yesterday. Yes, we did look at SUI yesterday. Well, we also looked at it the past few days, right? Looking at this Golden Pocket 786. Probably don't have to say this, but technically we looked at a different Golden Pocket 786, and then we wound up holding this one. But you hold on top of the value area high for the most part. You break out. You test that value area low. You do get some resistance. You break back down to the value area high. You bounce, you bounce, you bounce. You get the push into the value area low once again, and you come on in, flip it to support. And this was the biggest level of resistance on SUI. Right, you have the anchored VWAP, the Golden Pocket, the 786, and what was the key level we wanted to get above? Once you get above that anchored VWAP, 786 value area low, the POC is next at 329. Flip the POC, cooking our way. Or I'm sorry, this is not the POC. This is the 786 of this Golden Pocket pull. Right, 786, and this is the doorway. This is what we needed to get above. First zone, anchored VWAP, Golden Pocket value area low. Once you get above there, you're looking at the 786. This is key, right? We marked this as key yesterday because that's your doorway to continue up towards your to continue up through your profile, targeting eventually the point of control at 376. So there you go, right? Anytime we get big moves on the altcoins, guys, these massive volume profiles, like this is where the fun can begin, right? As long as we stay at this point, right, as long as we stay above that value area low, even if you get a pullback here, right, you did get a pretty big explosion up here. So if you do cool off, I'll bring up the key levels of support. 786 has been smashed. Golden Pocket has been smashed. Anchored VWAP has been smashed. I will keep that anchored VWAP on the chart for a very specific reason. But if we do wind up getting a cool off here, just understand value area low will be key, right? If you do get a big pullback, it's like, well, hey, we broke up. Maybe you can flip it to support on a higher time frame. But at the end of the day, POC is still open. Flip that POC. Look up towards that value area high at 453. Again, this is longer term, right? But not too bad. We got above. That was a pretty big level of resistance. Nice to see that breakout, especially the fact that you're above that 786. So, yeah, I would definitely be looking at, let's pull it to the impulse. Yeah, so I would just say at this point, right, value area low, anchored VWAP, right? You want to flip this anchored VWAP to support. Back here when we were coming down, that was the level you really wanted to hold to continue the uptrend. We couldn't do it. So now, once we get below it, you continue the downtrend. Once we get back above this, it could indicate that the trend is going to turn into a much bigger uptrend, traveling through this volume profile. Roadmap is clear here for SUI. And then, honorable mention, you can watch this Golden Pocket 786. So this would be kind of your major support zone. Boom. Boom. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're going to get that massive pullback, but just in case you did, right, if everybody's FOMOing in here with massive leverage trades, right, all that liquidity can get washed down and assist that move back to the value area low. But at this point, even if you did wind up getting a pullback all the way to this level, right, you could still be looking for higher lows and higher highs because the idea here is you want to kind of hold this trend. So there you go. That's what I'd be looking at. This is sitting between 309 and 294. And then that anchored VWAP probably will move if we come down. So this will probably separate a little bit from this zone. So yeah, just keep an eye on that anchored VWAP as well. This is pulled from the low here at about $1.71. Coming into some of the lower time frames here, again, very hard to kind of analyze this. It's just not much to, we have to wait for some kind of structure to form there. So that's what I'd be looking at. All right. So, and then again, so taking a look at Market Cipher B, 2-day money flow crossover into the green. I mean, I'm not going to lie, guys. The simple signal that we've been talking about is that 2-day money flow crossover. And again, talking about it as we're starting to curl up, not just on the crossover, right? See that 2-day money flow crossover? That's typically where the fun starts. And this is all just right on time. Insane. Insane. Yo, shout out to Chucks. Said, please cover Haktua coin. I'm in 1,000x long. I'm trolling. Please don't ban me. Shout out to Chucks. Let's go. Haktua to the moon. But anyway, let's continue on here. Yo, Golden with another 50 Frankie Candles memberships. The absolute GOAT. Let's go. Start that Golden waterfall for your boy Golden. I'm sure you guys already dropped him in there. Spam those Golden emojis if you just got a free membership. You have custom emojis. You even have the Phoebe emoji, which is my pet goat. Let's go. Shout out to Golden, bro. You're insane. I know Golden is probably sitting on his private jet right now, just like having a party. Shout out to Golden, bro. Let's see. Bought 10K ADA at 56 cents. Let's go. Shout out to Original Dukes. Come on, baby. Come on. Yo, dude. Yo, people who don't have membership spamming Golden the word is lit. I love that. How can I claim the gifted membership? Shout out to Container House. It is you do have to turn on your You do have to turn on your gifted membership settings in YouTube. I don't know where they are, but there's I think there's a setting that says like allow gifted memberships. If you don't have that set, I think it's off by default. I think you will not be able to get the membership. So, all right, so let's continue on. What do we have next here? VeChain. Let's take a quick look at VeChain. We have not looked at VeChain in quite some time. Let's see. Take a sip of that Aztecian cactus. Oh, here we are. Okay. I mean, guys, baby, it's all right on time. It's all right on time. Let's just do a quick. Let me just check it on Bitcoin. 115.9, 116. Okay. All right. So VeChain. I guess we looked at this not too long ago. It had been forever. We hadn't looked at this in like a year probably until we looked at it, I guess, at some point in June, right? Pulling our Fibonacci retracement from the high to the low. And obviously, we've had a lot of time go by. It's been 18 days. But the idea here is that you've pushed into your weekly / value area low support zone. This would be the area to look for the bounce. If you get the bounce, this is your first major key level of resistance. Go from the low into the POC. That POC will always act as a magnet. Not always, right? But most of the time, it will act as a magnet, right? So I would say your next resistance level here is going to be the 786 at 0.024 cents. Get stuck under here. Sure, you have an opportunity for a lower high, right, for a rejection. But based off your volume profile, you did front run a little bit here, to be honest with you. But let me see if I can extend this profile out a little bit because we're back in our area of balance. It's incorporating all those candles up there. So I actually like this range pull. So I would say, I mean, you are entering resistance, but I would say just like the line in the sand on a lot of this other stuff has been the 786, flip this 786. You're above and stay above this POC. Doorway's open to the value area high. 3 cents, 0.032. VeChain. I actually like VeChain as a project. It's a good project, good tech, in solving a good problem. Yo, shout out to Golden. Let's go. He said hashtag givers gain. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to Golden. And you are definitely a giver if I've ever met one. Somebody said dumping. What is dumping? Let me know, and I'll take a look at it. Let's take a look. Shout out to Francis. Said Frankie's ETH going down to 2,900. Shout out to Francis. We actually just took a look at ETH right after Bitcoin. If you scrub back, I did full analysis. I gave support levels and everything. Scrub back to that, you'll get the full sauce. Shout out to multi streams of crypto. Says nothing is dumping. I was gonna say. Usually people are like, it's dumping, and I'm like, where? And like, you know, I guess I don't know. Nothing is. I would definitely not call this a dump. But maybe something out there is dumping. Doesn't look like there's much though. But yeah. So for VeChain, pretty clear plan, right? Break that 786, opens the doorway to 0.032. Are we going to see a 3 cent plus VeChain soon? I would say if you hold this level, gonna be a nice look, right? And again, pullbacks are not impossible. I mean, I would say technically the level you wouldn't want to lose is this value area low. Let's say you put in a lower high here. I don't know. Look at this 2-day money flow, guys. Look at the 2-day money flow. Crossing into the green. I mean, even if you get a pullback and that money flow continues to cross green, I mean, I would say even if you put a lower low in at the value area low, this is your line in the sand, right? 0.01775, the value area low, 0.01792. Hold this level, guys. You're just within your profile, and you might not even get down there. But if you did get the lower high and you technically break the low into the value area low, as long as this money flow stays green, I would say this is a little lower probability. I think you're probably just getting started here. This money flow crossover into the green, even if you get the pullback, right? Like overall, you'd look for the continuation through the profile. Volume profile based, money flow based, it looks to be pointing up, right? In my personal opinion. Lower time frames, maybe you get a pullback, right? But even here, 4-hour money flow crossover into the green, not looking too bad. Not looking too bad. So there you go. That's what I'll be looking at on VeChain. I won't bring the higher levels up just yet, just because we're still kind of far away. Just watch that 3 cent level at the value area high. Full fill to the low, POC, hold the POC to the high, deviate above the high, get back in, POC, whoops, lose the POC, value area low, flip the POC. I mean, you're just following the volume profile. Let it guide the way. Let it guide the way. Yo, shout out to Erica gifting those Frankie Candles memberships. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Shout out to Erica. Thank you so much for those 5 memberships. And shout out to Janst, Elisa, Elias, Ladies to the Gravy, Ladle to the Gravy, and Klaus. Shout out to Klaus, the fish from American Dad. Is that his name? Anyway, let's continue on here. That's VeChain. Not looking too bad. I actually like VeChain as a project. I'm not going to talk about like all-time high predictions on this just yet. Obviously, this is still also for what it's worth, guys, right? I know sometimes on pump days, right, you could start to feel like, oh my God, I missed the boat, right? Just understand, we are still in our bear market range here. If this thing even retraces to its full golden pocket retracement from 2021, even if you don't put in a new all-time high, I know VeChain's a little bit of a like a dino coin, but even if this goes for that golden pocket 786 retracement and doesn't put in a new all-time high, just understand that you still have plenty of gains there, right? If you go to the 786, like 767%. So I like VeChain personally. All right, how's Tia looking? Let's take a look at Tia. Tia finally getting the bounce off our, I'm not going to lie, guys, this was a pretty imaginary level of support, right? We had this blue zone here, which is our first Fibonacci extension level to the downside. We had to use these extensions because we had no price action to go off of. I wouldn't say this looks like super strong, but it is nice, right? Like at the end of the day, if we are going to get closer and closer to alt season, chances are like maybe the low is in. But when we look at this, right, like we had that last fib level here at $1.36, and that's where we're getting the support from. Nice to see the push to the upside. I do hold Tia, so I want this to go up more than anybody else. But just from a structural standpoint, like you really got to start getting a move up here. I would be looking at the first major sign of strength of cracking back into this volume profile, getting above and holding these highs, and then you're really hoping to get back into this volume profile. But this would be kind of the roadmap. We are bouncing off the fib extension level. If we crack out of here, I will be looking for a, let me take this off the chart real quick. Bada boom, bada bing. Once we get above, once we're able to push back up here, your next local volume profile sits up here at about 296. So you still have a ways to go before there's really a lot to talk about. I would say the big line in the sand, that the level that you really want to get above to show that maybe you are going to come up a bit, is going to be, it would just be this value area low, which is confluent with your full 786 retracement. So, locally, if you can continue up here, this would be all eyes on this resistance. Right? Continue up, right? You do have an opportunity. If this thing's going to go to zero, right, or lower than $1.36, this will be the area to look for the rejection. Once you get above it, I would say that's kind of your first sign of strength once you start breaking these highs. And once you get above this 786, you would expect to take those highs, right? And then hopefully we can start to get a move here on Tia. So there we go. That's what I'm looking at on Tia. And I will also say, shout out to Mike Bennett, said, we're on the boat racing. Shout out to Mike Bennett. That kid's hilarious. I love that kid. That kid's lit. They could not have picked a better kid to make the aura kid. That kid is the definition of aura. But anyway, just taking a look at Market Cypher B here. We do have the weekly green dot, which is nice. With the 10-hour money flow crossover into the green, that is a Market Cypher B 1/16 strategy. So just understand that weekly green dot with the 10-hour money flow crossover. Typically, that 10-hour money flow crossover is the start of the trend, right? That's where you can expect the trend to continue. Right? Any pullbacks will be looking at as higher lows and higher highs. Although you do have a lot of work to do to get like longer term bullish, this is a nice sign. 2-day money flow attempting to come up as well. The one thing I don't like about this 2-day is that if we do get the rejection, right, you do have an opportunity to put in another 2-day bullish divergence, which would call for a break of this low. But we'll cross that bridge if and when we have to get there. I would say right now, weekly green dot with the 10-hour money flow crossover looks pretty good. So yeah, there you go. And those are the key levels I would watch. Let's see. Yo, shout out to Jay Violet. Thank you for the Frankie Candles membership. Let's go. Who got it? Carlos got it. Shout out to Carlos. Make sure you thank Jay Violet in the chat for gifting that membership. Thank you so much, Jay Violet. I appreciate you. Let's go. Golden, getting the respect from Golden, Jay Violet. I love it. Let's go. He says Jay Violet with a flex. Gen Z 2, Jay Violet 2. That's a W. Let's go. Oh, wait, hang on a sec. We got Erica and Jay Violet. Let's go. Unbelievable. Gen Z shouting them out too. I love it. Kadena, man. We have not taken a look at Kadena in quite some time. I will try to take a look at that for you guys. ADA. Let's jump into ADA as well. This is another common request that we get. And here we are. Oh, man. I love the charts, guys. This is like... All right, so let's take a look here. Bada boom. All right, so this is old news. I think we've already covered that. Okay, so I will just take a look at this, right? So you have your golden pocket from the lower high to the low. There's your 786 invalidation zone. And, guys, these 786s are the move. These 786s are the move, guys. Once you break above that 786, it invalidates the idea of the next lower high for the rejection back down. You break that 786, you look for the bigger move up, meaning that you can look for a break of that high where the fib is pulled from. And what happens? You crack above that 786. At that point, the lower high is invalidated, and you are looking for a move to break structure to the upside. Very similar to what I just looked at on Solana, except on Solana, it was pulled from a higher time frame, right? Low, high, higher, low. At that point, you can start to look for the break of structure of those highs. Same exact thing that I just looked at here, just much more locally, right? And there you go. That's why we look at those 786s as lines in the sand. You are also cracking out of your value area high here. Taking a look at the two-day money flow, also cooking to the upside. I mean, long-term, guys. Again, I'm not talking about like short-term leverage trades, although we talk about that most of the time. I would just say like these two-day money flow crossovers, you know, if you feel like, you know, we're still pretty deep here, right? We're still pretty deep. I would argue that you're just now, if you pull up the anchored VWAP, or not the anchored VWAP, pull up a profile here. Yeah, like you're approaching your macro bear market value area high. Once you get out of here, right, like there is a lot of room to run here on Cardano. Let's assume Cardano just goes up to its previous all-time high. And obviously, if we get some kind of bearish news, no rate cut, something like that, this can change. This is all in anticipation of potential rate cuts and this being the actual final stage of the bull market. Last blow off top on Bitcoin, alt season starts, you know, 334% to the previous all-time high. And then you could also obviously look for new all-time highs. I've actually covered previous new all-time highs on Cardano on a previous stream, so I'm not going to cover it right now. But obviously this will, you know, hopefully we can get a new all-time high on Cardano. I don't know anybody who's not looking for an all-time high on Cardano. But there you go, right? You are hitting resistance, though. You're at your value area high, and I would say more importantly at your macro bear market value area high. So you could get some turbulence here, but a breakout of this would be very, very nice, in my own personal opinion, right? And then let me just show you this from a macro standpoint, right? We talked about this as well. If you want to continue the overall trend that we're in here, low, high, higher, low, higher, high, the higher low has to come in. Whoops. Why won't this work? There we go. Let me just hide all this stuff, right? If you're looking to continue this trend with your low, your high, your higher low, your higher high, your higher low, if you're looking for that continuation of that overall trend, where would you want that bounce to come in at? Well, very simply put, you would want to hold from the swing low to the swing high, you want to hold your golden pocket 786 retracement. This is a level that we have covered many a times. We got a little bounce off the golden pocket, didn't hold it, but yeah, I mean, this technically, let's just say, you know, fast forward a month or two, or, you know, however long it takes, and we have the continuation of the uptrend. This looks like the obvious spot to get the bounce from. Doesn't mean you can't bounce, not guaranteed, right? I have to always say that, but looks pretty good, right? And again, that two-day money flow crossover. What happened last time we got a two-day money flow crossover on Cardano? It was the last time that we were retesting a golden pocket 786. Where'd the bounce come in? Right there at the 786. So again, doesn't mean this is guaranteed to happen, but again, it's a probabilities game. You have your low, your high. Where's the higher low likely to come in at? Between the golden pocket 786. You get the higher high, break structure to the upside. Whoops. Break structure to the upside. You come back down. Where are you looking for the higher low? Well, you're just simply going to be looking at the golden pocket 786, right? So hopefully we can hold that. It's not until you lose that 786 where I would start to get a little bit more worried. So nice move on Cardano. Two-day money flow crossover into the green is nice, or looking for the crossover into the green. It's not quite there just yet. Monthly VWAP also still just kind of curving around here. Still no green dot on the monthly just yet, which is fine, right? Because we don't have the two-day money flow crossover yet. This will probably happen first, though, in my opinion. So yeah, weekly green dot printing as well. 10-hour money flow crossover into the green. When you see that weekly green dot, you got to hop down to that 10-hour and say, well, once that 10-hour money flow crosses into the green, that's usually where the bigger move starts. There you go. Like the umpteenth example of the market cipher B116 strategies playing out. Let's see. Never knew you had to enable. Shout out to Y Crypto. Yes, you do have to enable those. What is it called? Settings in your YouTube settings. Shout out to Dave Digital in the chat. Said, click the green box above and select accept gifted memberships. Shout out to Dave Digital. That's the first time I ever saw somebody explain that. Shout out to Dave. Just enlightening us. Shout out to Dave. Let's go. Dropping those Phoebe emojis in the chat. Come on, baby. Come on. All right. Let's continue on here. Let's take a quick look at Kadena. Little KDA. Just checking on Bitcoin real quick. It's going to 0. Let's actually take a look at this real quick. Let's come back over here. I was like, where's Market Cipher? Come on. There we go. Yeah, I mean, still not much to update here, to be honest. Just trying to find like a reason to look for some kind of continuation. Got your 80-minute red dot. I mean, 4 hour, 4 hours still pretty early there. Money flow in the green, but yeah, I would say, usually the 4 hour red dots are typically something to look for on a move to the downside. Obviously, any big move you get up, you have to look for corrections to the downside. You have a little bit of an exaggerated bear div here on the 2 hour. Again, nothing that I would say like is screaming it's going to 0. 1 hour red dot. You can get some turbulence to the downside. But again, I covered those local key levels for you guys in the beginning of the stream. So scrub back and watch that if you are just hopping in. Let's see. Golden, I want to be your friend. Trucking Crypto is me. Shout out to Nick Dunn. Let's go. When am I going to go short? I mean, shout out to Nick Dunn. I actually just talked about this. Like yesterday when I took the short, where was it? Up here? When I took the short here, there was a technical factor. When you get these big moves to the upside, right, I'm obviously generally bullish. Doesn't mean you obviously can't pull back. I covered some lower levels. You actually could get a pretty big correction here. But the reason I am not personally short here is just based off the fact that, like, in my opinion, if we had tapped this fib level physically, I may have been a little bit more interested in a short position. Again, that does not mean, just because I'm not short here does not mean you can't continue down. But the reason I am not short personally right now is because I just don't really have a signal to look for here, right? I don't have you just come up, you make the high. We have not gotten any sweeps of a high. We have not gotten any SFPs. You could argue, that you do have bearish divergences here, but it's really hard to short. I mean, 2 hour red dot, I think that was just printing. That is now gone. It's just really hard, right? Like when I'm looking for bearish divergences like this, these strong angles are kind of difficult to look at. Doesn't invalidate the idea of the divergence, but it's I just don't have a reason. I don't have any technical triggers here to take a trade. Again, doesn't mean, I think it is possible to continue down, right, just to get a correction. But I need a reason to enter the trade. And back here, right, as I said in the beginning of the stream, I didn't just short this because we went up, right? I shorted it because we had an actual SFP. We don't have any previous price action to look at to the left to get an SFP from. So if I were to look for a short here, I'm either a slave to waiting for the move to happen and just not catching the short, and that's totally fine, or waiting for some kind of consolidation, right, to get more context where I can actually look for some kind of a short setup. Definitely can cool off here, right? Like nothing is going to go up in a green line forever. Never long the top, right? There's no world. If I were to look for anything up here, I would have to look for shorts. I would never look for a long like on these big green candles. But if I were to look for a short right now, I don't really have a reason to enter. Like even, I gotta try to find something here. Maybe a 1 minute bear div that you had. I guess that would be like the one thing that you had right here. 1 minute bearish divergence. Again, not like the strongest signal, but yeah, I mean, listen, if you just short randomly here, is there a chance that you can come down and make money? Yes, but I'm just happier to let that happen, right? I have to have some kind of an entry trigger. So hopefully that makes sense. I want to short the top. Shout out to Gen Z. I mean, listen, I would short the top here if I had the same signal I had back here when I shorted up here, I 100% would have taken the short, but it just didn't pop up. But again, doesn't mean you can't go down. Keep that in mind. Let's see. Hate being sidelined. Shout out to Silent Q. I'll argue this, man. I think being sidelined when things are pumping is probably one of the most painful things. And that's totally fine, brother. Let me explain something here real quick for anyone who feels like that. This move up, right? If you're not in a leverage trade here for this long, you're going to have 100,000, million, infinite other opportunities. If you miss the long, maybe you catch the short. If I miss the short, I will catch the next long. Or maybe I'll catch the next retracement for another short, right? For the short-term trades, the leverage trades, I'm not concerned about missing moves, ever. And I always bring up when I miss moves, right? So there's always going to be another opportunity. I think the worst thing you could possibly do is FOMO in and end up in a bad position, right? You want to sit and take it from me, right? If we dump down here, am I going to feel like, oh, man, I wish I shorted? Sure. Like in the back of my head, I'll be like, dang, I could have shorted there, right? But there was no reason for me to short up here. there was no technical factor, I could even be bearish, right? I could say, like, hey, you have the 1 hour red dot, the 2 hour red dot. You technically have bearish divergences. You have some low time frame money flow coming out. Your 5 hour money flow is coming out with your 2 hour red dot printing. That is a market cipher B116 strategy, right? If that red dot prints on the 2 hour with your 5 minute money flow crossover, you can look at that 5 minute money flow crossover to indicate the continuation of that downtrend, right? Could you trade off of that? Yes, I used to trade based off that. To be honest, once in a while, we'll take a trade based off that. But, if I missed the move, right, I'm just like, oh, dang, I could have shorted that. But tomorrow, there's going to be another opportunity. Maybe later tonight, there could be another opportunity. The one thing you don't want to do is just chase trades for no reason. It's the worst thing you could possibly do. So if that 5 minute money flow crosses over, you can get the move to the downside. I just personally didn't have an entry trigger. So if you did short up here, I hope it dumps, bro. I hope it dumps. And I hope you make money, baby. I hope you make money. Let's see. Yeah, shout out to Jets. Exactly. That's why I say that, right? Sometimes the best trade is no trade. If you have a big move up, right, like even me, let's say I was not long here. What would I be telling you guys? I'd be standing sturdy in my, I don't want to say values. I would be saying sturdy with my rules, right? If I was not in my long position here, right, what would I be doing? Would I be just trying to like chase the trade? Absolutely not. That'd be the last thing I'd be trying to do. Right? I would just simply be like, dang, man, I got stopped out right before it ran, or, oh, I was sleeping, I didn't catch the trade. But hey, I'll just wait for the next position. Luckily, I am in that long position, so I didn't miss that move. But if I missed the long, right, I am not going to chase it. And I forgot who said it. Somebody said, the good thing is nobody went broke sitting on the sidelines. That is for sure. Yo, shout out to IK said, live trading, don't trade. No, just don't trade without any entry trigger. So there you go. Sometimes the best trade is no trade. Shout out to Kenny. He says, I'm long on XRP 245. Can you go over a strategy on where to move my stop loss? Shout out to Kenny. Your stop loss is going to be based off of many different things. It's going to be based off your risk management, your entire trading plan, right? Why did you enter? Where is your invalidation point? So it's really hard for me to tell you where to set your stop loss because I don't know what you entered based off of. I don't know what your risk tolerance is. I would need more information to just like give where you should set your stop loss. But at the end of the day, you have to set your own stop loss, right? Me personally, if you want to ask me where I set my stop losses personally, I set them at the invalidation of the trade, right? So I cover this almost every day. It depends on what you're using to enter, but I always bring up the example of SFPs because SFPs, like for example, we actually did get a little SFP down here, right? So you did get this little swing failure pattern. If I were looking to take a long position here, just to give you a little idea, let's say I entered right in on the swing failure pattern, my stop loss for an SFP is going right below that wick, right? In which case that would be a 0.12% stop loss for a very high probability trade with very low risk, right? That's why I love SFPs. So this is where my stop loss would be on an SFP, below that wick, because that's the invalidation of that particular entry trigger. But, and this is kind of why, like, I think a lot of people they set their stop loss. They're like, oh, I always put a 2% stop loss or a 3% stop loss. But that's not really how you're supposed to set stop losses because the market doesn't, I mean, you could do that, right? Like, no one's stopping you from doing that. But at the end of the day, you want to set your stop loss based off the chart, right? Because you want to protect yourself either underneath support or in this case at the invalidation of the trade, right? So if you're looking for this wick to be the liquidity sweep for another move up, if you break that wick, you want to get out of the trade anyway. So there's no reason to have a 5%, 2%, 3%, 1% stop loss here. The stop loss is simply going to be based off the actual technical entry, right? And depending on which strategy you're trading, it can change a little bit, right? But that's like the easiest example I can show. So I don't know what you entered off of, so it's really hard to give a stop loss. And even at the end of the day, how low do you set the stop loss below that wick? Well, it's going to be based off your own risk management strategy, right? So there you go. Hopefully that helps you out. But yeah, it's like impossible for me to tell you exactly where to set your stop loss. I don't even do that in the premium. Like in the premium Discord, what I'll do is I will try to pull up an example here, right? Like, so I put my setups on the chart right before the level is right. So like, here's an example of actually, let me pull one up. Where are we at? Just to give a little bit of edumacation here. I'm trying not to drop like a fresh setup. That would not be fair for the people who pay to be in the premium. Okay, so if I bring this one up right here. right? So this is, obviously, I have these setups on the chart before price comes in, right? But once you take that trade, right, when I put my trade setup here, I always tell the premium, like, this stop loss is just general, right? Like, this is not where, if I get into a short, right, let's say I get into a short up here. My stop loss is going to be much different than someone who enters down here, right? So it's just kind of like generally you can set it above or below support, whether you're in a long or a short. But again, it's based off so many factors. I really have to drop a stop loss tutorial because I have an old one on the channel, but I have to do an updated one because I think it's something that a lot of people get wrong. You have to base it off the chart, right? You don't want to say, like, I'm going to put a 5% stop loss here, right? Or a 2% stop. Let's just say like I don't know, like a 3% stop loss, right? Like, you don't want to set this, right? Because there's nothing saying, right, that price is, you want to set it where you're going to be protected, right? So let's say, for example, I entered a trade down here, right? Let's say I entered a trade down here. If you're not going off like an SFP where you have like a perfect technical invalidation, right, you would generally just set your stop loss like below support. Why is that, right? Well, why would I want to set my stop loss here and not have a bigger stop loss? Well, the reason is because the chart does not care that your stop loss is 2.85% down, right? What the chart does care about is support and resistance. So just like as a general, like, simple explanation, right? Why would your stop loss be set below here? Well, simply put, if you get the drop to the downside here, right, price might bounce at that support. Once you break down below that support, you're probably in most cases expecting a bigger drop to the downside. So if we break this support and can't get back above it, why not stop the trade out early rather than just holding out on a longer stop loss because you only want to risk 5%, right? So I almost see that more as like a gamble, right? It's like it still protects you, but you might as well put your stop loss, the way I say it in simple terms, your stop loss goes to the invalidation of where the trade is. Your stop loss goes at the place where the trade is invalidated, right? And then again, it's like, let's say you get a really bad entry, right? This is why I don't enter on giant green candles, because if I entered a long position in the middle of this green candle, right, like, where's my stop loss have to go? It has to go all the way down below these lows. And then what's your risk to reward? What's your target? You have to have a plan for your trade, because if your target is to long here and go up here and your stop loss is here, this is a terrible risk to reward, because if you don't win 100% of your trades, you're just going to lose more than you win on your losers, right? So over time, it's going to be really hard to creep that P&L up because you're losing more on each trade than you're gaining. So you could lose this trade, and let's say you win the next one with the same risk to reward, you're still negative. What you want to do is you want to get into a trade with a good risk to reward, which if your stop loss is, say, just right below this support, I'm not saying this was a great trade or a perfect way to set your stop loss, but at the end of the day, right, you can lose 4 of these trades in a row, and then you win 1 of them, and you make your money back plus profit, right? And this is why your win rate does not have to be 100%. Your win rate's never going to be 100%, right? You don't need as good of a win rate as you would think if you have good risk management, right? You can get stopped out, right? Let's just say you get stopped out of this trade, small loss. Stopped out of this trade, small loss. Stopped out of this trade, small loss. Oh, I just lost 3 trades in a row, right? And then you have your next trade winds up winning, right? And if you have a good risk to reward, this loss, this loss, this loss is like, okay, dang, I lost. But they were all very small and controlled. And then that one that plays out is going to pay you back plus profit. Does that make sense? Risk to reward is key, absolutely key. This is why stop losses are so important. And knowing how to set them properly, not just picking a random percentage. So there you go. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe I'll make a pre-recorded video on this. Excuse me. Let's see. Yeah, shout out to Philly Skills says, I feel a little pullback, find support, and keep pushing up. That's my base case here. And again, scrub back to the beginning of the stream if you want all those key levels of support. It's all situational. Many successful traders have a win rate of 40%, but their winners win. Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Jets. You can have a 40% win rate. Everyone always wants, I always get this, right? Like, people ask me, like, how many of your last trades did you win, right? That's what they want to know. They want to know, like, how many did you win and how many did you lose in the last week? And it's like, that's not necessarily the metric you should measure, right? It's not, I could lose 5 trades in a row, or I could lose 6 trades in a row and then have 4 play out and still be profitable, right? You can lose more than you win and still make money, right? If you're managing your risk correctly. But if you're just kind of gambling with bad risk to rewards, it's very difficult to grow that P&L. So there you go. All right, let's take a look at Doge. Shout out to Boss Man said, I believe Mrs. Candles. I believe in Mr. Candles. I thought you were talking about Mrs. Candles. I believe in Mr. Candles to look at Doge. Shout out to Boss Man. I almost forgot about Doge. Let's take a look at it. Here it is. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here. We actually have to come on to the alt chart. All right, so let's take a look. I knew that was going to be marking out the 2-day money flow crossover. Simply put, guys, I should just like poster this like all over the place. 2-day money flow crossovers on the altcoins are typically very bullish. And I want to come back to this area in a second. 2-day money flow crossover into the green. Monthly green dot is incoming. You don't have it printing just yet, but when we see this 2-day money flow crossover, the overall trend is very likely to continue to the upside. As long as this doesn't fake out back into the red, even if you get your 2-day red dot, you would look for higher lows and higher highs for the continuation of that overall trend. Money flow indicates the trend. Red and green dots indicate the ebbs and flows. Red dot, green dot, red dot, green dot, red dot, green dot, red dot, green dot. Money flow indicates the trend. So there you go. But if we look at this, right, we are simply accepted into our volume profile. This was the doorway to higher prices that we looked at every time we look at Doge, once you get accepted into this volume profile, it will open the door to potentially push you up to eventually your POC, which is sitting at about 26 cents, and then eventually flip that. You could work your way up to the value area high at 38 cents. But as you can see, there's a lot of work to do in here, right? You do have a lot of local resistance. So I would say if you do continue up here, let me pull a fib from this high to the low. So there you go. A lot of these are coming into their retracement levels. This would be the line in the sand. Again, line in the sand. Break this and go to 21 cents. There you go. Right? Once you break that 786, you will be invalidating the idea of the rejection from this level, and it would likely give you the next move up to this golden pocket value area low at about 22 cents, like 21.80, right? Once you get above, let me actually see. This is the, this is the golden pocket pulled from the high to the low. So, yeah, I mean, once you break above that 786, I would look to approach that golden pocket value area low confluence. Once you flip the golden pocket, you're at the same time getting above your local value area low. Once you break above the golden pocket, you're going to be looking where? Somebody let me know in the chat where you look. Once you get above the value area low, the next likely place for price to go is the POC. Flip the POC, go to the value area high. What else is up here? The target that you would look for if you break the golden pocket. So once you get above this level at about 22 cents, there's many reasons to look up towards the value area high at 23 cents. So that's the local analysis here on Dogecoin. I'll take a look at Market Cypher B in just a second. But yeah, and then obviously when you zoom out and you look at the larger profile, right, this is all kind of noise. But at the end of the day, if this is going to be the real move, that 2-day money flow crossover is going to give you a massive move up. Point of control sitting at 26 cents. Flip that level. Look to push into the value area high at 38 cents. That's what I would be looking at on Dogecoin. Take a look at the daily. And again, you're at resistance here, so pullbacks are, potential here. Let's see. Daily VWAP above the 0 line. Let's check the full 4-hour green dot printing. Interesting. Yeah, 15-minute money flow crossover. Did that happen at the same time as the 4-hour red dot? Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely resistance, 786. I wouldn't expect this to bring you down to 0, but yeah, I mean, you got little bearish divergences above the 786. If you break that back down below this, it doesn't mean it's all over, right? But, you would just have to maybe take a little bit more time to eventually reclaim that, right? So this is definitely the line in the sand. I would say 19.193. Hold that level as support. I think you get the bigger breakout to the next target. 80-minute, let's see. Yeah, I mean, you do have some bearish divergences here. Again, this angle is super sharp. When you get a big impulse like that, typically what I like to see is what I would prefer, right? And it's nice because we actually have price action to look at here, unlike some other things that are at all-time highs or just newer altcoins. This is a potential SFP level here, in my opinion. Potential, right? Not guaranteed. But, yeah, you do have this tiny little wick here. It's not the biggest level, but because it's confluent with the 786, I would say if you SFP this, you do have your VWAP rolling over on the 80-minute, 2-hour, looking similar to Bitcoin, right? That 2-hour red dot prints, and the 5-minute money flow winds up crossing into the red, you might be able to get a little bit of a bigger retracement, right? So break back down below the 786, you maybe look for a little bit of a pullback. But again, I mean, as far as 2-day money flow goes, right, you could even get a pretty big move down, and I would still be looking for higher lows and higher highs, right? Nothing's going to go up in a straight line forever. But yeah, that is pretty much what I'd be looking at. A medium time frame, medium hourly time frame, red dots, 2 hour, 1 hour. All these VWAPs are looking to cross into the red or give you a crossover to give you a red dot. Do have a 1 hour bearish divergence there. So yeah, pullbacks from here would not be unlikely. But if you hold that 786, next target would be about 21 to 22 cents. Simply put, there we go. Let's see. Did I miss KDA or did you skip it? Let's go ahead and check out KDA real quick. I think I skipped it. Let's see. I know we have some kind of a chart here on Kadena. Am I lying? Maybe. Okay, so this is, let me just see this. Yeah, okay, so Kadena, pretty interesting here. What are we doing? What are we doing here, guys? We actually did look at this recently, right? We were looking through filling this profile, right? You go from the low PLC value area high. We all know that, right? Once you break out here, what do we got right here, guys? The doorway to higher prices. This is the big level to break and hold. Breaking and holding this level. Very big level for Kadena. Even when you don't get the full rotation of the profile, right? Here, you go down, you break back above, flip the value area low, POC acts as a magnet. Once you flip that, you go to the high. Break above the high, back in, back to the PLC, back to the low, back in, right? You don't get the full rotation, but even if you don't get the full rotation, as soon as you get in here and you start closing higher time frame candles, the next strong magnet, assuming that your money flow is in line here, I'm going to assume it is because everything else is, once you get up in here, what's happening? 4-hour money flow was crossing into the green as you were approaching, right? You get into the value area, that POC acts as a magnet, right? And you could even see the reaction on that point of control. You weren't able to get to the value area high, but you still got a significant move of about 74%. So even if this wasn't going to rotate the whole value area, if we're able to hold above this value area low, that's your biggest key level right now, sitting at about 42 cents, you can look for the continuation up. And look at that. You have your 4-hour money flow crossover into the green, right? Not as significant as a 2-day money flow crossover, right? So this hasn't crossed over into the green yet, but again, money flow is all about trend. Look at that trend. It is coming to the upside. This is what you want to see. When you want to see big moves up, and I always say this when people get very bullish at the highs, and I'm typically looking for shorts, it's usually based off something like money flow, and I always tell people, if you're about to break out, right, or you're getting a big move to the upside, it's important to understand when you should be looking to fade those moves to the upside or if you should be looking to get on the train and ride it up. And that oftentimes is tied to money flow. And when you look at this, right, let's just say you get this move to the upside and I'm looking for shorts and people are like, what the heck, we just pumped. Why are you going to short this? You're an idiot. And it's because when you have your money flow in the red, the higher probability is that you're going to put in a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low. But in this case, right, and I always say at that point where it's like, if we wanted a big move to the upside, we would want the opposite of what's happening, right? More specifically when we have money flow coming out like this, right? It's like, why am I shorting here? It's like, well, hey, can we bounce at some local levels here? Yes. Is it impossible to break out? It's not impossible, but with this money flow crossing into the red, you would have to see the opposite for a big move up, right? The reason I would anticipate this move to come down and not get a huge bounce here or a huge bounce here or a huge bounce here, the reason I would be more willing to short this lower high, short this lower high, short this lower high, short this lower high is because money flow is coming out. And if you were anticipating a massive move up, you would literally want to see the opposite of this happening. You would want to see a massive red wave crossing into the green. Use the money flow as a filter of whether you should be favoring longs or shorts. And what do we have happening right now? We have what we want to see, which is a push to the upside, a break above a key level of resistance, and money flow crossing into the green. And on top of that, we've spent plenty of time in the red here. This is a massive drop to the downside, right? So now that we have money flow coming up, we can now look for a potential continuation of higher prices. And just like I explained here, is it impossible that this money flow fakes back out into the red and gives you a massive move down? No, it's definitely possible. But from a probability standpoint, just like it was possible to get a bounce off here, and everyone's like, oh my God, we're at the bottom's in, right? And you're looking for a big move up. I'm always going to be looking for the lower high and the lower low. It's the same thing here. Could you dump? Sure. But based off money flow, the higher probability situation is going to be a continuation of that uptrend. There you go. That's what I'm looking at on Kadena. All right, let's see. Shout out to the Purge. Thank you for the super chat. Said, can you tell us something about Hyperlane? Let's see. Probably not, if I'm being honest. Actually, no. Hey, yeah, probably not. Only reason I say no is, am I looking at the right thing? This is, yeah, I assume this is it. I mean, there's going to be a real limit to what I can do on this. I mean, I could pull up extension levels. There's almost nothing I can do in this price action, right? All I could do is give like hyper local TA. But I'll give you like some macro levels here. I would say to the upside, your next big level is going to be 82 to 73 cents. You've already kind of played around with this. I mean, this is resistance too, depending on like, I mean, if you close the daily candle, if you rip up here and you start closing below any of these, right, it could just kind of be consolidation, maybe a correction. But if you continue up, I would watch between 72 and 82 cents. If this thing just continues to Lambo candle up, $1.10 is the last fib level that I can look at right now. So $1.10, 82 cents, 72 cents to the upside. And as far as support, I'll try to pull up some MPOCs for you real quick. You do have a daily MPOC, which is not confirmed yet. You still have about 15 minutes left for that to confirm. But that is sitting right here at about 29 cents. Yeah, weekly is going to take 3 days to confirm, but your weekly MPOC is currently sitting down there as well. Monthly MPOC is not going to be confirmed. So, yeah, these are the levels that I would be looking at. But, yeah, I would say, yeah, there's not much I can do with just this big Lambo candle, to be quite honest. Money flow-wise, yeah, like I don't even have any information on the higher time frames for Market Cipher B either. Money flow is trying to come up on the daily. I could say that. But other than that, I can't really do much with this just because it's, I mean, you just got to wait for some kind of structure to form on this. But those are going to be the key levels I would look at. And watch that money flow crossover into the green. If you get that money flow crossover into the green, you could look for a potential continuation to the upside, right? The idea is if that continues to curve up and crosses green, any pullbacks are looked at as lackluster for higher lows and higher highs. But right now, I would say 29 cents at that daily MPOC is probably a level to watch. I don't know if you're going to come all the way back down there, but it's really all we have to work with. So there you go. Hopefully that helps you out, bro. And shout out to the occasional gambler, as I assume what that name is. I can't see the whole thing. Says, yo, Frankie, can you please look at levels on Pangu? Thank you. You're the GOAT. Shout out to occasional gambler. Yes, I will take a look at Pangu as we wrap up here. And funny enough, I was actually looking at Pangu before. We do have a low volume gap here, right? And we had this, we were looking at this for quite some time. Did we fill the gap? This was the key level to break above before the big move started. We've been looking at this. I don't remember exactly when I first pulled it up, but way before we got up here. And as you can see, you know, this is based off the gap in volume that we had sitting. Come on. Well, we had the big volume gap here. And we do have a little spike in volume here as we peek back in there. But before we got this move up, this is a massive low volume gap. Quick moves down often lead to quick moves up. So once we break above this, you expect a big pop to the upside, and we're starting to see that, right? We're starting to consolidate here, developing a little bit of a high volume node. But for the most part, there's not much resistance in this box. So if you can continue up, I would expect it to be somewhat quick to approach our next level of resistance, which starts at about 0.023 cents, all the way up to the value area high at about 0.026. And then once you get above that value area low, we can look to continue that larger move through that bigger profile, right? So just to clean up the chart here, right? And again, how do we know that once you break into this low volume gap, it's going to be a fast move? Well, we could just say, hey, once you crack this shelf of volume, there's nothing holding you up. Just like the high volume nodes is where price likes to stick, the low volume nodes, price likes to continue through very quickly, right? Fast drop down, fast move up. That's exactly what we look for, and it is looking like that's what we're seeing. So yeah, next major level I would be looking at between 0.023 and 0.025. Flip that value area low to support. We can then look for some higher prices. So there you go. Big resistance there, but also a beautiful line in the sand to continue up. That's what I would look at on Pangu. Today, money flow crossover into the green. Not looking too bad. So there you go. Same thing as all the other altcoins. 2-day red dot looking to print. So, again, you could pull back, but overall, it doesn't look that bad. When you have money flow crossing into the green like this on a high time frame, typically the idea is continue to the upside, even if you get the pullbacks. So there you go. Let's see. Shout out to Noctis. Says, hi, I'm new to your server. Shout out to Noctis. Welcome in, bro. Welcome to the CandleMafia. I'm surprised you don't have a membership. Make sure you turn those memberships, gifted membership settings on in your YouTube settings. And hopefully you will get one very, very soon. Let's see. Shout out to Noctis. Said, I'm new to crypto. I'm confused at what's happening. Shout out to Noctis. Well, keep tuning in, and I will help and do my best to guide you on where price is going to go next, as we do here every single weekday at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, just one more last check-in on Bitcoin. If you guys are just tuning in, scrub back to the beginning of the stream. I give all the sauce on the key levels on Bitcoin in case we do get the pullback, all the key targets to the upside, what I'm overall expecting. Watch out for the pullback. But again, overall long-term, here we go. We do have the 45-minute red dot printing, 3-minute money flow crossover into the red. Let's check it. Oh, baby, it's about to happen. It's about to happen. But again, any shorts have to be treated as scalps until proven otherwise, guys. I'm personally not holding the short, not because I don't think price is going to go down. As a matter of fact, I think a pullback would be somewhat likely if we can get the 4-hour red dot, the 2-hour red dot with the 3- and 5-minute money flow crossovers into the red. But I just don't have an entry trigger up here as of right now to be in a short. So I'm not personally short. I'm only holding my long position here. So we'll see. Is this frozen? This has been stuck on 54.30 for so long. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Be careful of the pullback, but you guys have all those key levels. Scrub to the beginning of the stream if you did not see those. And with all that being said, I think that's all the time we got for tonight's live stream, guys. We went long again. We started early. We ended late. I don't know what to do, guys. We're just going to have to keep doing 2-hour live streams. But that's all the time I got for today, guys. Happy new all-time high. Super validating to see this long-term scenario play out. Whew. Could have been really wrong there, but wound up playing out. I appreciate every single one of you guys for being in here. Shout out to Mr. Ethereum. Shout out to Elite. Shout out to Elite. Said I'm in number 12 top fan this stream. Oh my God! Shout out to Elite. We got shout out to Mike Bennett. Shout out to Iker. Shout out to J Violet, Bitcoin Recipe, Eugene Sky, Jesse our like police. Smash that like on the way out, guys. By the time the music ends, if we have 1,150 likes, I can't see the likes. I have no idea how many we have, but if we get 1,150, we're giving away $200 in Solana tomorrow and 3 Frankie Candles hats. That's all the time I got for tonight's live stream. I got to go eat some food. Let's go Bitcoin. I love you all. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Look what's next for me, Joe. I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the f is it? They should have had them 2 bells ready. Spit shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test. Now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, I can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, don't know what is in me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working, I'm up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside. I'm in my, yeah.
Oh my God. I shouldn't have done that. I'm not going to sleep tonight, guys. I don't know. I might go live at 2 a.m., guys. Aztec King Cactus Mosswater got me kicking, and if I can't sleep, we might. If you see a notification from Frankie Candles at 2 a.m., I'm going to be cracked out with my hair sticking up on stream in the dark doing some 2 a.m. TA. I couldn't even think of what it's called. But, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same time. I got to go. Mrs. Candles waiting to eat. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah, maxed out.